Happy Mom Day. We will be on in just a moment. Enjoy some elevator music. Episode 85 of Lights Thunder Action is packed for your nerd entertainment as we debut some new logos, speak with Tom Drew about Moon Knight, and Matt Roembke about the Multiverse of Madness. Let's go. Welcome to
LTA with
TCR
and JRB.
This is where the fun begins.
You're just not thinking fourth dimensional.
Lotus! Peter 03!
Num num.
I'm vengeance.
What?
Did we just become best friends?
Yup!
I love you guys.
Hold on to your butts.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
Dude, I almost had you.
To that I say, all right, all right, all right.
Good evening. It is May 9th, 2022, and it is time for your Monday night pick-me-up, where two beard bros dive into all things Marvel, DC, pop culture, IP, and the latest happenings in the film industry.
Thomas, it's so great to see you. We got a big show on our hands here.
We
will be going over our spoiler-filled thoughts for both the Moon Knight finale and for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. But as you just mentioned, we have some great stuff that we're going to use to help celebrate that. We have a new logo. We have a new show logo.
Boom.
And we have some new graphics that include our beautiful bearded faces. So we have not one, but we have two guests joining us tonight to help us make those reveals. And they are the two artists that help us bring it to life. So first, we will be having Tom Drew join us. Thomas, before we get to that, where can everyone find us?
You can find us live beaming directly into your homes and phones via our Lights Thunder Action Facebook and the HWWS WebTV channel over on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links can be found at Linktr.com/LightsThunderAction. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow to view the live version of our show where you can interact with us. But if you don't want to look at our beautiful beards, but you would love to hear our sultry, beautiful voices.
Then you can find said beautiful voices on Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, and Spotify. Be sure to follow and subscribe while you're there checking us out. Leave us a 5-star review, if you will, and ask us a question in that review. We'll answer it right here on the show. So with that out of the way, Thomas,
Boom.
You saw Multiverse of Madness.
I have.
I saw Multiverse of Madness. But we saw something right before that. The Moon Knight finale. And how crazy was it? In fact, it's so crazy that I don't think we can talk about it just you and I. I think we have to bring in a good friend of ours. We've got someone waiting right around the corner here, don't we?
We do. It is the man who has been on here before, but in a video capacity, like John Cena back in 2014 or whatever it was. It was a good promo package, but now for the first time ever here on Lights Thunder Action, the legend, the man of all the logos, the artist supreme, Thomas Drew. Woo! Coming in tonight from the UK.
Wow, what an intro. I'm so glad to be on with you guys. I'm amped up on I've just eaten some Sour Patch Kids, so I've got a bit of energy. So yeah, it's just great to be on.
Yes, absolutely. We have David Thompson in the chat saying, Tom, what is up? And David Thompson, friend of the show, producer of the show, journalist at thedirect.com, and of course, the new host of Cinema Spending, the Box Office Podcast. But
great podcast.
Yeah, Tom, it's so great to have you here. As some of you know, we've just recently mentioned that we are giving our season 3 of the show a new look. And Tom has played a huge role in that, in bringing this new season to life for us. So, Thomas, TCR.
Yes.
I think we got to show them what's up.
We got to show them what's up. But first, Tom, what was your experience like drawing this?
You know, it was, I mean, like what can I say? It was a pleasure to do it for you guys. I mean, I obviously had the help of JRB's expert sketch, which I basically just like copied and then made it into a bigger thing. So like that was a major help, and like the idea that you guys had was really cool to update it anyway. So it was a lot of fun to put together. So yeah.
Wow, extremely humble indeed. Tom, you are brilliant, and you've given a great dash of your vision to our show, and we thank you for that. So Thomas, let's let's get rid of all this anticipation and let's reveal
drum roll, please.
It's you and me.
Look at us. Hey, what a shirt, right? I mean,
that is a ginormous clapperboard if I've ever seen one.
Yes.
Tom, I love how you brought us to life in this thing. This is incredible.
I just want to point out that you both asked for like specific clothing, and I was happy to oblige with Thomas's shirt and your shoes. It was fun to do.
Yeah. We had to add some sort of personal flair to it, and I think my Jordan 3s and Thomas's famous Hawaiian shirt, which he's wearing now, by the way, featured on this very stream.
It is a new one.
He upgraded it. We updated and upgraded. We're moving up. All right, great. I love it.
Moving on up.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys are gonna be seeing the little animated versions of Thomas and myself all over our social media pages, all over this show going forward. Again, we have Tom Drew to thank for that.
We do. And the important part of why this looks the way it does is we're going to be utilizing this for our episode info here on the live streams, as well as that'll be each episode's individual thumbnail on the podcast feeds as well. So that way you have the information all there, and it is the same every week. So everything's streamlined, because that is how efficiency works. Children, go to college. You'll learn that allegedly. So let's go ahead and dive into the Moon Knight finale. What a name. Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters.
Gods and Monsters.
And you would think it was a King Kong movie if you were just reading it. I love it.
Oh, man.
A little bit of sizzle.
I mean,
I'll tell you what, the story was a lot better written than a King Kong movie, though. We got a surprising amount of character development, not only from Oscar Isaac's Mark Spector in the finale, but so a surprising role player in the finale was Layla. She came out of nowhere, and we've been learning about her this whole time, and not realizing that she would play such a key role in the finale's moment. So this was filled with surprises and some great resolutions for these characters, but it also left a whole heck of a lot of stuff undone and unanswered. So Thomas, what are you thinking? Do you want to do like a full plot rundown, or do you want to just run through this episode and stop as we go and find the beats that we want to talk about?
I got all the way up to Layla kicking ass, and I put I'm a serious Layla stan, and then I was like so captivated watching the action that I forgot to take notes here.
Awesome.
I watched it Wednesday morning. I have not seen it since because I went right into Multiverse of Madness prep.
Yeah.
And I watched Multiverse Thursday, Multiverse Sunday, and on Monday, right before the show, I watched Moon Knight again. Damn, is it good? We can run through the plot because it's pretty simple in the beginning, and then it just gets really actiony. And my God, there's a lot of good character stuff inside the action. Harrow and the goons kind of, they got the Ushabti at the very beginning, and then they do some stuff really quick. Before we get too far, I want to get Tom's spoiler-free thoughts.
Yes, I need to know what you think of this.
Not just episode 6, but like the season up to episode 6 as well.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to it, I was a bit skeptical because obviously episode 5 was kind of like the big bombshell episode where they kind of explain everything. And they set up a lot of things going into the finale. And we found out beforehand the finale was going to be like not only the shortest episode of the season, but like the shortest finale we've ever gotten for a Marvel show. So I was like, are they going to pull this off? But luckily, like, I really enjoyed the finale pretty much as I did for the rest of the show. I thought it like did a really good job of wrapping up all the storylines that they kind of set up and tease what they're going to do for the future. So I was just really pleased with it. There's really great action, and we'll get into that in more detail in a minute. But yeah, just overall really impressed with the finale and the whole show, to be honest.
I gotta admit, I said last week that I was expecting like virtually no action just because of the way things had been going, and I could not have been more wrong about that. It's like they were waiting until the finale to show us all of it at once. So the action was one of my favorite like resolutions, is because I had that tension through this whole series going, when are we going to see some action, some actual movement that's exciting and not just more character development. And they like just let it all erupt in the finale, and it was the perfect build up because it didn't feel overdone. It was still minimal, but there was depth and like a weight to it because of the buildup that they had given it this whole time. So I think that was really smart of them, because I was going in expecting him to just whack people with those sticks every episode, and that probably would have gotten pretty boring. Instead, we got this awesome character study, really 2 or 3 character studies. And now they've made way for all of this action to take place while we get a much deeper understanding of this character. What were your overall thoughts of this series as a whole, like fitting into the greater MCU? Like, do you think that you enjoyed this more than the average MCU piece because it was so different, or do you think that hurt the project? Where does this kind of line up for you with what we're used to from Marvel Studios?
Yeah, it was interesting because like this is the least connected project we've ever gotten. It's like even Iron Man had the tease at the end, which tied everything together. This had like virtually nothing. But I also kind of found that pretty refreshing. It made it sort of stand out and allow it to stand on its own 2 legs. I think a lot of Marvel shows sometimes have the connections as sort of a crutch in a way. Not to say that's a bad thing, but I think it can be, yeah, and that's always a risk. So I thought it was quite.
That was essentially all of Marvel Studios' What If was just leaning on fans' understanding of the already existing MCU. Yeah, no, exactly. I totally get that, and I think you're right. I think it was very refreshing because going into something like Multiverse of Madness, we're also caught up in the rules of it all and how it fits into what's going on currently and trying to make sense of it that way. Moon Knight doesn't have those connections. They just name drop a location every once in a while, and that's it. So I can totally see that. TCR, what did you think about Moon Knight's overall standing in the MCU? Do you think it fits? Do you think it doesn't fit? Does that work or does it not? He's muted again. All right. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Gosh, technology. Well, no, I think, I do think it fits. We have the Stephen Grant banter here and there. We've got the, neutral darkness guy with Mark Spector. We might have a demon. We'll get to that Spanish fellow later. There's no telling really where this character can go from the end of this episode, but I think the setup and the lore behind gods that we already know, and then seeing Egyptian mythology and the gods and how they are depicted in the MCU really makes it fit, especially after Eternals, which shout out Eternals. I'm going to mention them a little bit later in Multiverse of Madness because I've seen some stuff. So, and really quick, while we're here, shout out Eternals. They were originally a reference or a character somewhere in Moon Knight in a scripting phase was cut.
Yeah, true. I gotta say, I'm very happy that did not happen. Tom Drew, did you want to see Eternals pop up in this, or what do you think about that?
I think it's better that they left them out, to be honest, for multiple reasons. I think. I mean, I thought Eternals was right, but I think it was definitely one of the, for me at least, one of the weaker projects. And not to say that like seeing, I don't know, like Kingo or Fastus showing up in another MCU project would be cool. Wouldn't be cool, but like I don't think it was necessarily needed. And especially after watching the whole show, I'd like inserting MCU references for no reason. I don't think it would have benefited the show. And I think it just would have been really distracting to open with. You think you're watching a show about Moon Knight, and then it just like, Kumail Nanjiani shows up. Like, oh my God, that would be so weird.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. I think it worked better that they left him out. Like you were saying with the MCU crutches, this would have felt like one that wasn't really a crutch because the Eternals are still so new. It's less than a year old. And fitting them into a show like this would have felt a little bit forced. Like we're trying to find excuses to include these characters. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. So let's dive into the plot a little bit. Harrow and the goons got the Ushabti of Amit. They lay waste to the border security. Taweret talks through dead bodies. Awesome. Amit is released and seduces Harrow to become her avatar by telling him, do not let the pain of your past control you. Layla releases Khonshu, and then he tries to get Layla to join him. She denies him. Then we get a little bit of the Field of Reeds. Mark dips out entirely, finds Steven in the Duat, pours his soul out, and Osiris admits them to go back to Earth. He tells Mark tells Steven, you're the only real superpower I ever had.
Ooh, that one was heavy.
Are you kidding me? Then we'll just jump a little bit more ahead so we can kind of get through it all and then talk about our favorite bits.
Yeah.
Khonshu and Amit fight. It's
King Kong
fantastic.
versus Godzilla.
I love a good kaiju. You know what I'm saying?
It was huge and it was awesome.
Was it weird
So
that I was
cool.
pulling for Amit because I don't like Khonshu's look? Maybe.
Amit did look pretty sick.
Friend of the show, Klein Felt, was like, am I attracted to Amit? You might be. You
I
might
was going to
be.
bring that up. A lot of people have been saying Amit's kind of sexy, but I mean, I'm not saying anything, but it's what you were saying.
The internet, ladies, gentlemen, and beautiful non-binaries. Khonshu and Amit fight until Mark comes back. The avatars of the Ennead are dead. They're all dead. More avatars are needed, so Layla becomes the avatar of Taweret. This is where my notes go crazy. Let's fracking go. We get some dope action. She saves a kid. Layla is an Egyptian superhero. Mark blacks out and becomes Jake Lockley, and Layla sees it. I'm a serious Layla stan. This is where my notes have ended. I got super caught up in the avatar of Taweret. I'm like, yo, this is amazing. When she when she dropped, you know, those scenes are almost back to back, right? So I'm crying from what, you know, Mark just said to Steven, and then Layla comes out and unexpected to me, just whoosh, in the new suit. Yeah, I popped. I literally started screaming. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. Got super hyped. Layla's new favorite character, maybe. No, I mean, not favorite. Sorry. Obviously, it's still Thor. Let's not get crazy. Thor Shrine over here. I got one up top too. But this story wraps up because Mark doesn't want to kill them. Khonshu's like, whatever. Mark and Steven both ask Khonshu to release them. He says, sure. And then it kind of just wraps up. He wakes up, falls in his apartment. Same shtick. Cut the credits because I don't remember the exact thing that happens there. Can't lie. But the post credits is a Spanish fellow getting Harrow, who's obviously in a real mental institution. It's not white and pretty at all. It's really 70s dinge. And taken to this limo, and he's like, oh, Khonshu, you can't hurt us anymore. I'm Ethan Hawke. And he's like, oh, you thought Mark was the only avatar, blah, blah, blah. Meet Jake Lockley. And then he says some cool stuff in a real grizzly Spanish voice. And pop, pop, Arthur Harrow's dead. Has the demon been released, boys?
I don't know. What do you think? What by demon? What are you referring to?
Jake Lockley.
You think Jake Lockley is like a separate like being that's possessing Mark Spector's body, and that's how we're getting that alter?
I'm gonna just say a human demon. Like some humans just are demons. I think he's just a bad guy who makes choices to be a bad guy and does not care.
Yes, no, that guy seems like the worst. Yeah. So he just is looking for any excuse to kill anything and everything. But Tom, that I gotta say that post-credit scene that revealed Jake Lockley might be one of my favorite MCU post-credit scenes ever. Mm-hmm. How did that one resonate with you? What were your thoughts as the actual credits rolled?
Well, I thought like everyone was kind of expecting Jake Lockley to show up. I thought he was going to show up some point in the episode, and he kind of does, but you don't see it, obviously.
But very irritatingly, you don't see him yet.
Show up.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. But like, I'm kind of similar to you. I thought it was set up really well. Throughout the whole season, we were kind of expecting this. You know, the clues were there, the sarcophagus, him punching himself in the face in that one episode. It was all leading up to Jake Lockley. So when he finally showed up, and he's like this pretty, like, he's still kind of got the cab driver kind of vibe from the comics, but he's got this like, I think like Guatemalan spin on him that Oscar Isaac kind of like suggested, which is like a really cool direction for him. And to see to find out that Ethan Hawke's he's just done, like that's I was like, oh my, okay, we're doing that. I was kind of expecting him to maybe stick around, but no, I thought it was a really effective way of setting up a potential next season, or like even a movie. I'd love to see like what they could do with the Moon Knight movie. But yeah, like loved it.
Who is your favorite character?
I know you got a lot of love for Layla, and I thought Layla was great, and especially the fact that she did become a superhero was like unexpected in like the best way possible. But I think it's weird because obviously like I'm a British man, and Stephen Grant's his accent's a little bit dodgy, as we would call it over here. But I kind of love that about it. So I feel like I have to go with Stephen is probably my favorite.
Yeah, it kind of made it feel a little bit more fabricated, like there was something off about the Stephen Grant personality, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but there was also like an earnestness to it and a genuine like it's weird because like there's parts of it where I was like, this is weird, but then there's like things that he gets so right about the performance. I was like, yeah, I think Oscar Isaac was he kind of stole the show for me.
Wow.
So I think, yeah, it was all him all the way for me.
Oh, I love hearing that. That is so cool, especially coming from you. That's awesome.
That's what
TCR.
JRB really wanted to know was what your thoughts on the Stephen Grant accent.
It was the top line on our show notes was I have to ask Tom about the accent. No, but it's funny because like my fiance and I like he keeps saying like, yeah, I'm aces. Like that's something I've caught myself like almost saying like, oh wait, that's not lingo I use. It's just he does it so fluidly, like it feels natural enough, you know. But yeah. So Stephen Grant, the personality would be on towards the top of your list. Thomas, what about you? What do you think? And it's I know you're probably going to say Layla. Would it still be Layla without the finale?
No, I can't even.
Okay.
It's
all right.
Layla's only in the conversation because of how, like, when she did that real badass thing in episode 3, right? And she did the pull things down and
oh yeah, just
that she did this. She did the pose. I was like, oh, okay, that was badass. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then when she drops out the swords and the wings come, I'm like, she did that thing. She did that thing. Oh, let's go. Didn't know we were gonna get another Avatar, right?
Had no
look
idea.
at Phase 4 sneaking in superpowered women all over the place and stealing the show. Well,
And
I mean,
they're all good. Like
as a character, you know, like
in my opinion,
so
I don't think they've missed yet with those characters. With whether it's Monica Rambeau or Agatha Harkness from WandaVision, or even if you jump all the way over to Loki, you've got Sylvie, or in Hawkeye, you've got Kate Bishop and Yelena coming over from the Black Widow movie. Like there's, and I know I'm missing some, but like it feels like it's almost like America Chavez. Yeah, it feels like every Phase 4 entry, Katie Shang-Chi, like Eternals, half the cast, like they've gone. It's like they've made it a goal, like it's a priority of theirs to make sure that they're catering to that side of it, because for so many years they really didn't, you know. You're right, it's really cool to see that becoming like a frequent thing. And I'm not gonna lie, I still didn't expect anything to come from Layla, but I think that was I think they wrote it that way on purpose. But yeah, Layla's another great addition to the super female squad, and it keeps growing and I'm loving it more and more.
The best part is we get more Todd Edit. Right.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Like when she's like, I want to like tell her like I want to be your Avatar.
Layla.
I can see the hands going
around.
Like, dude, let's go.
And they're still doing her hand gestures, even though it's just a corpse on the ground. Like that was Tom. What did you think of Tower Red? Do you think she was a little wacky, or do you think she fit into the show?
Yeah, I thought she was delightful. I thought it was like kind of a nice contrast from like how dark the show could get. Like, so it was just nice to get a bit of a bright spot, and I hope she sticks around. Like, she seems really cool. One thing I wanted to ask you guys about was, I think like Layla, they've kind of given her the Scarlet Scarab name, which is like an obscure like character from the comics. But like other than that, she's kind of like really her own superhero. Like she's kind of original to the MCU. Like we've not really seen that, I don't think. Like, how do you guys feel about the MCU kind of deciding to make their own original superheroes that aren't based in the comics, like going forward?
I like that a lot. I love the question, because it has such great implications. You know, we kind of saw that with Sylvie and Loki too, where she's a combination of a couple characters that fans are familiar with. But when you get to Layla, the Scarlet Scarab, she's like a makeshift version of the daughter of like an obscure Moon Knight villain who they clearly changed for this series. So like, yeah, you're right. This is way out of left field. They're still using the source material, but they're essentially only using the names at this point. So, and yeah, adding an original character like Layla makes me feel more like we're watching an original Marvel story rather than an adaptation of something else, because, and we'll get into this more later with Multiverse of Madness, but that really established like watching the MCU is watching like a line of comics being released, you know?
Yeah.
And adding characters like Layla to the fold make it feel more like that. It gives it more character to where you don't see that in the comics, because she literally doesn't exist on that medium. You know, it's original to this. It gives them another selling point, both for Disney Plus, but also for the Marvel brand as a whole. So I'm a huge fan of that, and I hope we continue to see it, because there's a lot of potential there. Thomas, what do you think? Do you like them adding original characters, or do you want them to stick to the books?
I You stick to the books. Stick to the books, JRB. Let me tell you. Let me tell you the category of Egyptian superheroes. From Wikipedia. It's a long list. It's gonna take me forever to get through it.
Oh boy,
Dr. Fate. A specific personality of Dr. Fate is Egyptian. Kendra Saunders, Hawk Girl. Carter Hall, Hawkman. Ibis the Invincible. I couldn't tell what brand that was. It was not Marvel. Isis from DC Comics. Osiris from DC Comics. Kalaman from a popular Mexican superhero. Scarlet Scarab. That's the end of the list. That is Marvel's first superhero, first Egyptian superhero ever. It looks like, it seems, as a term in this case of utilizing Layla for it. Because in the comics, he's kind of a villain, kind of a not. I'm all in on Layla. That should be her.
I knew that. I knew that was coming from you. Absolutely.
Why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it? All right, Tom. We're running out to the end of your time, so I don't think we'll get to where Moon Knight falls in our MCU, because I want to know what you thought about Multiverse of Madness before you drop out.
Yeah, I watched it Thursday morning. It was like just to give you some background, I was quite worried because there was like a row of like 9 people. It was pretty empty in my cinema, but like this row of 9 people, they must have been a friendship group, and they were talking like the whole time throughout the trailers. I was like, I'm in for like the worst cinema experience ever. I thought it was going to be so bad, but luckily they shut up for the most part.
Man,
like I don't mind a bit of cheering, but like when people are talking over key moments, I'm like, I just want to listen to what they're saying. But as for the movie itself, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was like, the more I think about it, the more I appreciate what it did. And the main reason for that is Sam Raimi's direction. You could just tell that it was like a Sam Raimi picture, like from the get-go. Like his like weird, gross choices, like Gargantus's eye, like being plucked out of his, like things like that. Like the horror elements to it. I just I was all over that.
And those transitions,
the transitions, yeah.
Some of them were great. Some of them were very Sam Raimi. But yeah, man, you're right. If there was any movie I had to label a Raimi movie, it'd be this one.
Yeah, it's probably the most Raimi of his films, maybe. Like it combines so many elements of it. And yeah, like the performances were great. I loved what they did with Wanda. I thought her as a villain was like so bold, but it worked so well. And the cameos, not to get into spoilers, were really great. I did get spoiled about them before I saw the movie, unfortunately. But the kind of like shock of seeing that, like, oh shit, it was actually real. Like it was pretty like unreal. So yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions surrounding this one, so I didn't know what to believe at all.
Yeah, but no, like overall loved it. And I want to see it again because I need it. It's a lot to take in the first time, especially. Like there's a lot going on with the movie. But yeah, a lot going on, to say the least. Absolutely. Well, Tom, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can everybody find you on socials? Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me. Yeah, you can find me at Tom Drew Art on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I have a TikTok now, funnily enough.
There we go.
But yeah, I post artwork on there sometimes. So if you into that kind of thing, then check me out, I guess. And you can also find some of my writing, like JRB's as well, at thedirect.com. And you can find some of my writing there. But yeah.
And Tom does a whole lot more than just write for us now. He's helping run thedirect.com. He's one of the top dogs now. We answered to Tom. No, but seriously, Tom, thank you so much for joining us. It has been so great catching up with you again. Thank you again for the amazing artwork that you've provided for our show, giving us the Tom Drew flair for our season 3 of LTA. TCR, you got anything left?
We love you, Tom Drew.
We love you, man.
I love you
really
guys.
do.
Thank you so much. It's honestly such a pleasure to work with you guys and just to hang out. So yeah, can't wait to be on again.
Of course, man. Always a pleasure. And really quick, for everybody else, what time is it there?
It's now 1:30 in the evening, or the morning. So yeah.
Go get
Luckily, I
yourself
don't
some
have to be
shut-eye,
up,
King.
but
You've done enough today. Thanks so much for staying up with us tonight, man. You take care.
no worries. See you guys.
Later, brother.
See ya.
Bye.
Awesome.
All
And
right.
that is our wrap up of the Moon Knight finale. And just like that,
How about we just we'll shout out all of our sponsors at the end, because he's
All right.
here. And the master of mom is what I'm gonna call it. The master of mom is here. Because listen, that means that he'll make your mother want to kiss him on the forehead. Great guy.
We didn't talk about that name before this, but
no, hey, I didn't think of it before this. But I also want to get his thoughts on the Moon Knight. So coming in from somewhere west of us, so we're going to another time zone.
I think he's mountain time. I'm pretty sure he's mountain time.
I think he's mountain time. We were just in the UK. Now we're up in the Rockies,
Mile High City.
Mile High. We're up there in Colorado.
Just let him in.
It is the man, the myth, the legend, Captain Matt Roembke.
What's up, boys?
Hey, there he is.
Boys?
How you
Did I
doing,
just
man?
hear that Tom Drew has a TikTok?
Yeah. That was news to us too. We're gonna have to go follow him. Absolutely, yeah. But how you doing, Matt? How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to talk about Multiverse of Madness. I'm excited to talk about Moon Knight. I'm itching to just talk about this stuff. What a week in comic book movies I'm so excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Yeah, man. It's we were more than happy to. And I mean, we were all sitting here kind of jealous at first because you got to see Multiverse of Madness before all of us. You were one of the first people to lay eyes on that. But before we get to Multiverse of Madness, even though you saw it before Moon Knight, we have to know what you thought of the Moon Knight finale and the series as a whole. What did you walk away from it with?
So I want to start with the series as a whole, because I think overall, looking at once I've seen it all and kind of rewatched it all with Aaron, I love the character that we got out of this. The Mark Spector, Stephen Grant, now Jake Lockley, the triple character that Oscar Isaacs introduced to the MCU roster, I think is just such an amazing thing that this show is able to provide. It feels so fleshed out. It feels like such a lived-in player on the board now, and this was the first origin story Disney Plus ever took on. So I think they accomplished that in spades, and I don't think that should be discredited. As far as the finale specifically, bit of a letdown for me. It was riding the high of one of the better episodes of Disney Plus MCU television we've seen. Definitely a top 10. I haven't been forced to rank it yet, so I don't know where it falls, but episode 5 of Moon Knight was an entire vibe, and I think that there was just a little bit of falling flat in the finale. Nothing crazy, nothing that I hated, but nothing special about it, which was kind of a bummer for me, specifically to Arthur Harrow. But overall, I think it was a show that I really enjoyed. The gimmick of the show, the split personality, and how they navigated that, it had me gripped right from the jump. And I love where they went with that. I can't wait to see more of this character. It's got an Eternals vibe for me, where I didn't love the show. Cannot wait to see more of this character. So excited he's on the team.
Nice. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think we're all sitting there thinking what's coming from Moon Knight after this. So Eternals is I think a great comparison.
JRB, what were your final thoughts on the Moon Knight?
The finale definitely sealed it for me as one of the better MCU series that they've tried. They really kept me on the edge of my seat right until the end, because that episode 5 did explain a lot as to the origins of Stephen Grant, Mark Spector's true, struggles in life and all that good stuff. But it still left me wanting so much more. We still know virtually nothing about Khonshu or any of the Egyptian gods for that matter before they started interacting with the characters that we spent 6 episodes with, So, and even that, we still don't know much about Khonshu's history with Arthur Harrow or really anything that kind of gave more weight to that situation. So there were elements that definitely were left open for me that I wish they had said a little bit more about, especially since they're really dragging their feet and confirming another season, because that makes you go well, then what are your plans for this character? Do you even know what's going on? But I feel like we ask ourselves that a lot, and the MCU continues to deliver regardless. So for now, I'm just viewing this series as one of the better ones. I think it's very original. It kind of sits in its own little spot in the corner, not because it did anything wrong, but because it doesn't really relate to all the other guys in the room. But I like that. It was a kind of a little refresh, a nice change of pace.
Heck yeah. It might be my favorite finale as a finale. Just as a finale of a series so far, and how it tied up the things it needed to, but left just enough breadcrumbs to not be like, what? We'll get to that in Multiverse of Madness for sure. about leaving some toast out there instead of some breadcrumbs. But absolutely loved it. My all-time favorite finales, obviously anything with Kang related material. Love me some Kang. And Jonathan Majors just out there, just, you know, we're all villains here. Can't even put words to it. So really quick, before we dive into the Multiverse of Madness, JRB, we have something else to debut.
Yes, we do. Something equally as exciting as what Tom Drew brought to the table for us. On top of getting our own animated avatars to promote our show week by week, we also have a much more updated, dynamic logo for the show coming from only the best, Matt Roembke. So on top of Tom Drew's art, making us look a little bit more, I don't know, comic booky, a little bit better looking, at least for me. Thomas, there's nothing wrong with you, buddy. We needed some way to brand us on social. And Matt took a couple ideas that we had put together for him and just knocked it out of the park, and went through a few drafts. And every time we had something for him, he was like, I got you. I'm on it. I got you. And we came across or finally came to this masterpiece that is our new LTA logo. Thomas, here's the drum roll. Boom! Love it. This is amazing. And if you'll notice in the bottom, we did incorporate a little bit of Tom's art that he did for us, but we have our film reel here with our show's abbreviation along with Thomas's and my own abbreviations. Giving us a much more simple logo to help us promote our show in a little bit broader of a spectrum. And dude, we're able to format this into so many different aspects of our show and really put an updated flair on what we're trying to do here. So we can't thank you enough for taking that on for us. It looks great.
You are muted.
Now he's muted.
He's muted.
Everyone's muted. Like I said, I'm always happy to help. Always happy to help. You know, we're riding together. You know, LTA. You know, we kind of got into this all together. You know, JR, congrats on LTA. By the way, I don't think I've really talked to you since. And you know, that's really exciting stuff. And Thomas, I mean, you know, we started right at the same time here in the Direct Podcast, and it's just been a great ride. And I'm always here to help you guys out.
Appreciate you, brother. Always good talking to you. You're like the coolest guy I know.
I know, it's crazy.
And I've met my dad.
It's crazy. All right, Quail. Let's get to it.
Wait a second. Hold on. I'm so sorry. We talked about Moon Knight. I didn't say it. I got one last thing to say. I know that's rude. I'm sorry. JR.
Right.
Yeah.
Mark Spector. Confirmed Chicago Cubs fan. We did it.
Yes.
We did it.
We saw the banner in the bedroom.
Yep.
We did it.
Yep. 2 in 1 phase. Both Fastos and Mark Spector, fans of the greatest team of all time, the Chicago Cubs.
Dude, it's been a good week for the Cubs, man. Barstool just started their baseball podcast back with Jake Arrieta. My favorite pitcher of all time. All my Cubs jerseys are Jake Arrieta, bro. You don't
as they should.
Oh man, big week for the Cubs, and Marvel is helping make that happen. Absolutely love it.
Thanks. Sorry, I had to put that in there.
No.
I love it.
Hey,
we love sports. It was absolutely necessary. Shout out to Fastos getting cut out. I'm assuming they went to a Cubs game. That's the
It was the scene. It was the scene from the breakup with Vince Vaughn and Jen Franis, and Fastos was in the background.
Yeah, exactly. They were just chilling back there.
Eating hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, can you believe this hot dog? It's terrible for you, but I love it.
Oh yeah, sipping
Is
on
that
that
what Bryson
$12
Tyree
warm
Henry
beer.
sounds like? No.
No. That was Stephen Grant going with, because he's the one hanging out with Fastos for some reason in my head. I think it'd be more fun.
Right. These dogs are bloody brilliant.
So JRB, we're gonna have a multiversal trip we're about to go in. So why don't we change the screen? Let's hop into a new multiverse. Let's hop into official season
Everyone hang on tight.
3.
We're jumping through the multiverse right this moment.
Oh, look at that new logo. And then if I gotta woo!
Bruce Almighty.
Bruce
It was Bruce Almighty. Yes. Yes.
Dang it. Did I just Jim Carrey myself again?
Oh man, it's okay. You can always Jim Carrey yourself here. Man, this looks great.
Yes,
look at that.
And really quick, I gotta give a shout out to JRB's on our background here. JRB has Anchorman, Iron Man, and then the Truman Show, which are, obviously peak in my fandom. And then so I was like, well, sweet, I don't have to worry about anything with Jim Carrey or Will Ferrell. So obviously Tommy Boy.
Oh, love it.
My God, they're so bad.
New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
And then my top 2 favorite films of all time. They're not in order of being top 2, but that's because I love The Lion King. It was the first one that was my top. And now it is obviously Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that is my brain.
Beautiful.
And that was a great multiverse film. And now we're here to talk Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Madness indeed. Let's dive right into our spoiler-free thoughts. Matt. Yeah. Take it away, please, sir.
This is such an incredible, uncanny, astonishing movie, if you may. It's tough. I've seen this twice. I've reviewed it over on the Direct Podcast in between both screenings, so I got to see it, review it, and then see it again, which is always fun. And now I'm in the rankings mode. We got our rankings episode this week. You guys both know I'm very much a rankings guy. That's kind of how I quantify my fandom. And so I had a tough time with this one. I really did. Where I wanted to rank it, where I wanted it to fall. So I decided to make a list, a good old-fashioned list. Kids don't make lists anymore. So I decided to make one. And it was my 3 things I love the most about this movie and the 3 things I didn't love the most about this movie. And crazy enough, every single one contradicted each other. I think this is an amazing sequel to WandaVision. I don't think it's a good sequel to Doctor Strange. I like how they use the multiverse with the Illuminati and those types of decisions. I don't like the lack of use of everything we got from Loki in that foundation setup. I love the energy and pacing decisions that Sam Raimi made. It made the pacing a unique thing, which is such a weird thing to say about a movie, but the pacing wasn't just good, it was unique, and I like that. But I think because of that, we lose a lot of the emotional core that this movie was desperately lacking. So how do I feel about it? I really don't know. It's one of the more fun Marvel movies, I think, by a long shot. I had a blast watching it. Obviously, I'm a big Elizabeth Olsen fan, so I loved her character. I thought America Chavez was great. And overall, I'm just having trouble thinking if it's more fun or good or somewhere in between. And I'm kind of hoping we can figure that out here today. I came to you.
I think we got this.
This is going to be a multiverse therapy session.
Hey, it's Mental Health Monday. We might as well. We just talked Moon Knight. Let's dive into the multiverse. JRB, what about your spoiler-free thoughts?
I resonate with a lot of that. I think that this movie it's unique. I don't want to say to a fault, but like it's almost too unique in certain ways, where the pacing is a huge thing. Where it hit Matt in a great spot, me not so much. And I think that's as a film overall. I think it works as a great MCU adventure, but as like a film, the pacing is all over the place, and then it comes to a dead stop like right in the middle, and then it speeds through the third act, and you're at the end of the film before you even know it, which is a lot of fun the first time you view it because you're truly not understanding where this is going to take you. But it did make the climax of the film fall flat a little bit because they tried to lean on some emotional support that they didn't really do too good of a job setting up earlier. So overall, I really enjoyed watching the movie, and I will enjoy watching it again and again. I've seen it twice now, and I've appreciated it more the second time through than I did the first. But I do think it's a little messy. I'll even go as far to say that the title is a bit misleading. And like Matt said, it's a great follow-up to WandaVision. I think that hurt the fact that it's supposed to be a Doctor Strange sequel.
Right. Book of Boba Fett situation with the title, you know?
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree.
I
agree that when it came to the characters I had more emotional connection to, it was Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been Wanda.
It's always
name
been
wasn't even in the title.
No, it should have been.
Not technically. I think
Madness. It was madness, you know. But are we back to just calling madness and people being mad is just like losing their mind a little bit?
I think it's
like,
supposed to be
the Mad Titan. Like now they're like stamping it down.
Right.
I quantify this as madness. I'm no dictionary person, but
I would. I would quantify it as madness. I wouldn't pull the multiverse into that title, considering we only visited what. Still spoiler free, but we're gonna dive into our spoiler filled reactions in a second here. But yeah, it's only a few. Okay, it's not enough in my opinion. And we'll talk about the marketing and everything too. Yeah. But yeah, let's Thomas. Why don't you give us your overall thoughts leaving this movie and then jump right into the plot so we can start talking some spoilers.
Yes. Number one. When I first saw this movie, I kind of hated it.
Yeah.
Like I walked out going, I don't know how I feel right now. There's certain things that landed super hard. Mm-hmm. There's certain things that horrified me. There's certain things that actually made me want to throw up. And then it just all happened so fast that I was like, did I just black out? Did I just Mark Spector myself in this movie? Like it's over. And I was like, okay, well, at least the ending is good. And it landed for me emotionally. And then we get the final scene, and I'm like, what? Okay, sure. We'll see. That's an intriguing way to end this movie. And then we get the post-credit scene, which is awesome. But then I'm like confused, right? I'm like, okay, but you left like you just were like, hey, by the way, there's a sandwich coming, and it doesn't leave me any questions of like, hey, what's going to happen next? But the second time, knowing what this movie was, had way more fun. I walked out from thinking it's like a 3 out of 10 to it more than doubling for sure.
Yeah.
It was very low. It was very low. And it is all because I don't like horror and I don't like specific things happening in horror because I get overly attached to characters like that.
So, well, then, yeah, it probably wasn't a great movie for you.
It was not fun.
I love your brain so much.
Yeah, man. I see where you're coming from, though. Yeah, the first viewing, I think the part that held me back my first time seeing it was, and this was no one's fault but my own, but I kept expecting the scale to increase, for it to become more grand, for the effects of what they're dealing with to expand, because it's this multiverse of madness that's been kind of touted as this trek across the multiverse where it's gonna be crazy and nothing's going to be orderly. And it started doing that, and then they like immediately found where they needed to be, and it just stopped right there, So let's get into spoilers because
incredibly small scale movie. Shockingly.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so this is here right now. This is your warning. Spoilers. From here on out, Multiverse of Madness spoilers.
Yeah,
we're diving in. Okay, so
we're diving in. Go. Yes. Whatever you wanted to say right there.
We're doing this by act. I'm so excited.
We're gonna try.
I want to acknowledge what Matt said because yes, it's incredibly small scale for what it was marketed to be.
Sure.
when you have multiple Disney Plus series like WandaVision, Loki, What If, all leading up to this big event film, and then you have Spider-Man No Way Home that's like the nightcap right before it, that's like, hey, you better get ready because like this is what happens here, so it's going to get real weird 5 to 6 months from now. And then we get to Multiverse of Madness, and Wanda reaches into like one universe to grab some kids, and like that, and that's it. She's focused on one universe which is designated the number 838 because the mainline MCU is 616, what we've all long suspected.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm glad they're finally saying it because
we
it's been
can
so
say
irritating. Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. It's nice to finally have some confirmation.
No more MCU
Thank you.
proper.
Right, yes. No
Shout
more
out
MCU
Mysterio from World 838 telling
Crushing.
everybody that.
Yeah, I mean, that's another question you got to ask is how did he get that right? You know, like
Was he dreamwalking from another reality from 838?
oh god, his story was true.
Could you imagine how crazy that is?
That would be. Yeah,
someone call Ethan Simi. He's gonna lose it.
Yeah, no, we're still waiting for Mysterio to for them to admit that Mysterio's still alive because we all know it. But for Multiverse of Madness, the scale of it, kind of, I think that's why it kind of fell flat for me. Matt, you're saying it's small scale. What I've kind of already led us into this, but what made you think that? What elements of this film made you go, this isn't as big as I was expecting?
Well, I think that all of us on some level were experiencing exactly what you said, an adventurous travel across the multiverse. And it just so wasn't that at all. And, you know, on paper, if you would have told me right before we go into the movie, hey, we're only going to spend time in a couple different universes, one being an MCU utopia, basically the perfect version of 616, the other being the worst case scenario with two universes crashing in on top of each other. So if you would have told me that on paper, I would have been like, that's kind of a bummer. But once I saw it played out, once I saw how much runtime equity, specifically in a short movie, that they put in to establishing 838 with Christine Palmer being not just a scientist, a multiversal scientist. Like that's her job, is to study the multiverse. So we already know base level, they're more advanced than us. The Baxter Building call, the plants living with the city as opposed to against the city. I thought that was a fun touch. All these different things. Because they established it so well, and that is where we got all of the cameos I was worried about, it was such a relief for me because I accepted the cameos so much more because they did decide to focus on this one universe. We did get our montage through the multiverse, which was cool. It was the scene from Doctor Strange 1 done over again. Maybe not as good, but definitely, you know, not bad at all. I thought it was sick. It was awesome. But so yeah, that's basically what I mean by smaller scale. I think I thought too, this was going to be a traveling adventure through the multiverse. And that's why I was worried about the cameos. I thought it would be a cup of coffee situation where we see these guys for a little bit, they wave, and then we go away. And then they can say in a promo 1 week later, these guys are in the movie. Hate that. This felt established. This felt these cameos gave a little more importance. Still not too much. You know what I mean? You know, it didn't alter the entire movie, them showing up and leaving. And I can't wait to dive into that a little more. But that's what I meant about the pacing. I think that being able to do that and then making the decisions up front to make the Wanda twist so early, to make America be betrayed immediately. The opening scene of the movie is America being betrayed by a character we know. Those types of decisions, I think, led to a pace that was a shocking, fun, energetic ride. And at the end of the day, I think I redeemed this movie for that. Again, I talked earlier how I think it does hinder the impact of the third act. But those first 2 acts, guys, my mouth was agape the entire time. I was genuinely shocked by everything that was happening for the first hour and a half, hour 15 minutes of this movie. And there's something to be said about that, I think.
Yeah, totally.
But I do understand, you know, if you wanted a multiversal adventure movie, this definitely wasn't that. This definitely wasn't that.
Exactly, right. And I feel like we got a better multiverse movie just earlier this year with Thomas's new favorite film, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where they did blend quite a few universes together. You haven't seen it yet?
No.
Oh, wow.
Join the hype.
Join the hype. This is what Thomas did to me for the month that I waited to see it. So, yeah, now it's coming to you. But, yeah, no, definitely check that out if you're looking for that multiverse adventure because that's what they focus on in that movie.
That is a multiverse of madness.
Truly, it is.
And love and thunder and
it does it all. But yeah, I like where you're coming from with that is the cameos. I know you've been saying for a while that you were really concerned, and you got to me to a point where I was like, ooh, should I be worried about that? Because like with Spider-Man No Way Home, they were really walking that line of whether it was fan service or whether it worked for the movie. And if Multiverse of Madness was supposed to amplify what was going on, I had a feeling or had a worry that they would do that too. But man, they did it so well.
the comparison I made to my buddy yesterday, and I'm gonna bring a lot of sports and gambling comparisons today, guys. That's what I'm going for.
Love it.
It's when they did the multiverse cameo thing in Spider-Man No Way Home. I feel like it was putting all your money on red. And, you know, if it works, amazing. If it doesn't work, you're crapped out. And that kind of sucks, specifically with Spider-Man. I think they won. And it's almost like they turned around and been like, you know what? Red, one more time. We're going to run it back. and you know what? I'll say from a fan service cameo using the multiverse to get fan servicey things in the movie, I think they've hit twice. I hope they take their money and run. But I do think that they've hit very rare odds twice, and I've been proven wrong 2 movies in a row. So maybe I should shut up, but I love how they used it here.
Me too. I think that it worked perfectly. TCR, what were your thoughts on the cameos? Do you think it was too much, too little?
I think we should just like say it. We're already here. There's no act 1 or 2. There's just the movie. There's no act 1. There's a lot of act 2. And there's a very distinct. There's a very distinct act 3.
Yes, then we'll skip over act 1. But one thing I want to say about it, and this is why it fell flat for me, was because this movie opens, and within the first 10 to 15 minutes, you see 2 different versions of Doctor Strange fighting 2 different monsters in 2 different universes. So you can't start a movie with that and then have your second act just all of a sudden like come to a grinding halt while you take care of some exposition, you know? So like, I think just the way this movie flowed kind of hurt the expectations I had from it, because instead of continuing to climb, it kind of plateaued and even dipped in certain points, you know?
I think it's a bell curve. It feels like a really strong bell curve in terms of pace, in terms of the emotional beats. There's some good emotions here in the middle, but it's not from Doctor Strange.
Ever.
And it's not from anyone billed like at the top in this movie. That you look at this movie and you go, there will be some emotion for Doctor Strange all throughout, like Spider-Man was. Nah, man, not at all.
It took the back seat.
It took the back seat. And I guess in the sense that they almost are like saying, hey, here's our main character. They're selling the movie. Here's what we're really talking about over here with, you know, Yelena Belova and Kate Bishop, etc.
Black Widow did not deserve that. It was an uncalled for shot at Black Widow here, May 2022.
That's not what I meant it to be as. That was more of a like Black Widow is like great, but they are setting up Yelena Belova so hard, and she steals it so hard that, I mean, granted, she's also a Black Widow, so it works. But like Yelena Belova was the first, like, oh my God, we love this character on a whole different like peak level. That's because Florence Pugh crushes, and in this movie, I think Lizzie Olsen crushes. I think Xochitl
Gomez is what I've been saying.
Gomez, okay. I see the L.
From Indiana, though, that could be very wrong.
Yeah, I see the L, and I'm like, I feel like it's got to be there. Anyways, Miss Gomez crushed it. I only cried once in this movie. It was her. It was because of her. She yanked out. Every time I cried, it was because of her, actually. It was definitely because of her. But there were a couple moments with Doctor Strange where I was like, oh, that's tough. But let's talk about 838. Multiverse trip. Before we land in 838, we see a paint world, right? We see the Living Tribunal. We see the Savage Land.
Yeah.
I think we see hell. I think we see an MCU hell. There's
Is it the lava place that we see at the end as well?
No. It's a place with skeletons. It's skeletons climbing on stuff, a lot of chains.
Oh yeah, like the yellowish hue to it, like I remember that.
Like fire and brimstone.
And then an electric guitar by chance?
There might have been.
That was my
Mephisto. I can't find the guitar. I can't find the guitar riffs in the score, and it's kind of upsetting because, like,
that's wild to me.
Yeah, I know.
They were throughout this entire movie.
They don't have a single Dreamwalking song.
Dude, when they did the Sam Raimi montage with the Dreamwalking, and then they brought in the like,
and you hear Mordo like
beat for a second,
doing the monologue. Yeah,
out of nowhere.
It felt way too like laser tag tutorial, you know, like it just felt so off. compared to the rest of the movie. That was
It kind of bought me by the end of it, though. I'm not gonna lie.
It was cool, yeah, but like it was also very off-putting for a moment.
That's Raimi. I'm sorry, I'm derailing this whole thing.
Back to the universe you want to visit most.
No, that's 838. That's where we end up anyway. So
you don't want to go to Paint World?
Hard to find
you can't
food.
eat there.
Hard to find food.
You can eat paint. You
Hard
are
to
paint.
World,
You
I
are
think is where I
paint.
want to be.
You can go be cannibal. No.
Yes.
Bruce Arians used to drink paint, and he won a Super Bowl. So,
Oh,
um,
did you eat lead paint as a kid? Yeah. Why?
yeah, why?
So now let's talk about 838, everyone's favorite Go on Red.
Go on red. Go on. Okay,
Let's
yeah.
just jump to it.
Right off the bat,
the Illuminati.
There's a line in that scene we need to talk about.
Oh, there
when
it
he
is.
sees Mordo and he says, "Oh yeah, he was the first one to invite me into Kamar-Taj before he snapped and had dedicated his life to trying to kill me." What evidence does Strange have of that? When did he try to kill him?
Didn't he say, "Yeah, but I dealt with him"?
No,
I don't think so.
No, it was one of those things where I definitely listened harder the second time because I was confused as well, JR. He says, and then he dedicated his entire life to trying to kill me, which I'll buy that Strange is aware of that. But the fact that there's been no event of that in the MCU is very weird. Very, very
now,
weird.
I'm really upset we still don't know. No. So the Doctor Strange sequel should not introduce another Mordo that we also lose track of before we find and catch up with the first one. Because now we have 616 Mordo and 838 Mordo, and we don't have a follow-up on either of them. Is it going to be the multiverse of Mordos next? What are we doing?
I messed with it, though. The green with the sorcerer is just so sick. There's something about the green that I really like.
The green is very cool, yes.
But yeah, it's still to this day and will be for at least another couple years the longest we've waited to get a post-credit scene paid off.
Yeah, it's insane how long we've waited at this point. Like,
Guardians 2 is the only other one that's even close, and it came out a year after.
It's true.
Which Guardians 2 post-credit scene? Oh, Warlock. Yeah.
And Eyebrows is coming.
Yeah, I mean, Warlock, the other Guardians crew. That's a great place.
Eyebrows.
You both want to visit 838 the most, really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's Reed Richards' baby. You can tell, like that. He's the reason 838 is so advanced. There's no question about it. Yes, absolutely. And before Wanda destroyed it, an Illuminati that had Professor X, Black Bolt, and Mr. Fantastic all on one team. And I'm not ignoring, Captain Carter, Captain Marvel, or Mordo, but like those three players, it's not even, we didn't even question how they beat Thanos, like it was like, that's
on Titan.
You told me the three of right on Titan. On Titan, like if you told me the three of them would have beaten him, I would have been like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I would buy that if they do it right. So to have them all as like that universe versus like version of the Avengers, technically, man, I want that more than what we've got now, and I like what we got now a whole heck of a lot. So 838 seems like a pretty cool place to be, as long as you're not so ignorant.
If I may, I wanna talk about each of the cameos, as I'm sure we will, because each one had something a little special to it, right?
I think we have to.
Shout out Sean Lynch, right? But but real quick, just the idea of them being this world's Avengers. This is what I meant by the world building they did with 838. They did so many things, and I think very well done. Putting Rachel McAdams behind the exploration, never a bad idea. Never a bad idea. Put somebody we love behind exploration, I'll buy it. It's such an advanced universe in so many different ways, specifically with the multiverse. And I think for me, that really established the separation between 838 and 616. They made that a cardinal point in the storyboarding part of this movie. And I think that was such an inspired decision for a couple reasons. One, totally just shifts our expectations. We all thought it was going to be a multiversal adventure. It wasn't. And I think this is why. And I like that. Two, just having this team be in existence makes sense for this universe. So when we got the big players that, again, I know my wife doesn't, but I know who they are. I don't think it takes away from if you don't know, but if you do know, wow, what a moment. all these different things happening. And I think that's fan service done well. When it if you know, you know. If you don't, it doesn't take away. You know, I don't know how I got here. I think it has something to do with Spider-Man. That takes me out of the movie. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
and
exactly.
this bought me in. And I if you would have told me John Krasinski was playing Reed Richards in this movie, I would have been very upset. I liked it. I loved it. And that's such a shock to me. That the thing I was most worried about ended up being one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's because of the investment they put on 838 as a whole. Rant over.
No, I love that you brought up these cameos. I think, if anything, we need to spend a little more time on them just because of how much time we spent leading up to this movie trying to guess which ones they would be and how they would affect the movie, you know? But Thomas, we'll go through all of them.
Yeah.
I know you had some mixed feelings about these. So tell me which ones worked for you, which ones didn't, and why you had those thoughts.
I know I'm going to upset Matt later, but we'll talk about the ones I love off the top because I don't like to talk about the things I don't like that often. Black Bolt, when he popped up, dude, Blackagar Boltigan, when they called out his name, and I was like, I couldn't keep up with that. That's his real name. Holy tits. I can't believe they said that. And then I didn't catch it the first time, but then they call him the Keeper of the Terrigen Mist, leader of the Inhumans. And in 3 lines, they gave him more prestige than that show that once existed in another reality ever did. And they used his sign language that he created for the character the same way Makari. Oh my God, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. The actress that did Makari.
Lauren Ridloff.
Yeah, Lauren Ridloff did for that character. And they talk about, oh, he could blow you away with like a voice or blah blah blah. You don't want to mess with him. And it's like, oh, cool. They referenced it. That's pretty cool. Then they showed it,
awesome.
And he hits him with an "I'm sorry."
Oh, stop!
And it was so brutally painful. And like they just lead this up with, we should tell him the truth, right? And so you see it and you go, wow, that guy's kind of a dick. But then you're like, wow, they're all heartbroken. They just killed their friend because he probably told them to kill him. Knowing Strange, that would be something he would do, right?
The fingers.
The fingers. He's like, you have to tell me after I fall down the streams.
He killed like 1 trillion people, they said.
Yeah, he collapsed an entire reality.
Yeah, do we see that reality later? Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. But I love the fact that we saw his like sound wave effect, and it just gives him instant credibility on this screen, which is important. They brought in 3 big cameos in this and 3 characters we know with 3 actors we know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they kept the balance beautifully.
I think so.
So let's jump to obviously Charles Xavier. I love, right? I mean, when the theme hit,
stop.
I didn't know. And I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not as big of an X-Men animated series fan. I watched it. I did love it, but like Spider-Man was my heart. I wasn't ready for the emotional turmoil that X-Men was unleashing upon me. I was struggling with Spider-Man as it was. Kids with emotions, Yeah. But they hit the theme, and I was like, oh, they did the thing. They did the thing. And obviously it's Patrick Stewart just crushing it because it's Picard. It's Patrick Stewart. God, Star Trek on the mind after this weekend. We didn't even talk about how our lives have been, JRB. We might have to do that a little bit later, but back to the plot. Then we jump to the final one. It's not technically the final cameo, but it's the one we hadn't seen in theaters. We hadn't seen in any marketing material. It's the last person to be introduced before Xavier. John Krasinski as Reed Richards in, as Matt Roembke, I believe, said, the 2004 comic suit.
Yeah, from the Bendez run had the black in it. I thought that was a nice touch.
It was. It very much was, but I think Thomas might disagree.
I did not like the suit.
You didn't like the suit?
It's my least. I like the
white.
Oh,
honestly, I would not have been. I would have, if they made it Future Foundation, it would have been a lot easier to digest as like a color contrast.
Sure.
But I felt it was like, it just didn't fit. It looked too cool for how he was being played as Reed Richards.
Interesting. Okay.
To me, in my opinion, it's like
so fit the dark tone of the suit in such an awesome way. for me. I mean, honestly, like, you know, we're pitter pattering around the accent color. Seeing that Fantastic Four blue was awesome. Like
the blue.
It was a release of serotonin I didn't know I needed.
Yes.
The logo and how it has digitized stuff behind the 4, loved that. That emblem fucks. That's my one F-bomb for a PG-13 show. It's on a logo and an emblem. Beautiful.
Now I can't use it.
Sorry, I monopolized the F-bomb. My bad. Look at Matt's face. He's like, oh God, can I not drop an F-bomb now?
He's like, they told me this was PG.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, it's a PG-13-ish. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of it. Obviously, it was the suit that I wasn't a big fan of. Haley Atwell looks more, please. More Haley Atwell. Loved Agent Carter. Should have never been canceled. That, and I love Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., that was peak Marvel's TV storytelling because it was concise and it landed the emotional beats. And that was before Disney Plus ever existed. Is it my favorite live action Marvel show ever? Before Disney Plus? Probably. But then we get Lashana Lynch coming back as Captain Marvel. Matt's face is like, what the hell was that?
I didn't know Captain Carter had it like that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I love Agent Carter. That show is really good.
It's a great hat.
It's
a red hat.
Yeah.
It's
the big red hat. Yeah, she's got so many
Diego
looks now. But she, you know, her new costume looks great.
Ugh.
Let's jump to the plot, I guess. They tell him that Strange was playing in the Darkhold because we haven't talked about any plot here, kids. Playing in the Darkhold and, you know, went bad, caused an incursion, which, you know, is a mind blown for a lot of fans everywhere.
Big word.
It's a big word. It's your vocabulary word of the day. But we see him get wiped out. They are all saying, you know, we have to sentence you to go back to your multiverse, blah, blah, blah. Being really boring, really annoying, really multiversal prejudice and ego. It's really annoying to Thomas. That's why I'm like, okay, these guys can shut up. But that's only because I love me some Doctor Strange. Wanda comes in, wipes the floor with some Ultron bots, which was super fun to watch.
Jeans and a nice white sweater.
Getting covered in Ultron blood. You love to see it.
Hey, Reed Richards, let's get off oil, dude. You just teleported in from God knows where.
Yeah.
We still got oil in these robots? Come on now. That's a Sam Raimiism I appreciated. It looked like blood, but it wasn't blood, therefore PG-13. Well done.
And it's great because it is Ultron, so of course she's gonna go a little extra off on it, right?
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, it's America Chavez is all locked up here as well. It's important to note. Then they all go out to fight Wanda.
Fuck yeah.
Oh,
you don't like it? Oh, how do you not like this part? Wait a minute.
This is the part of the movie that I just fucking hate.
Wow.
I know.
This is an episode of What If, Thomas. That's all it is.
I know. Well, in live action, it hits way harder and gross, and I didn't enjoy. I felt uncomfortable. I don't watch horror because I don't need to witness more deaths than I've already witnessed in my dreams. Listen, we didn't talk about this plot point. If dreams are multiversal signs, I've died in a lot of places, bro.
That's an article coming to thedirect.com from William Crowley.
Oh, here we go. Is it about dreamwalking? Yeah, interesting.
Couple things I would like to talk about, if that's okay. I want to start here.
That's what you're here for, man.
What an amazing word! Excellent choice of word by whoever came up with that. It just sounds cool. It just sounds cool, right?
It does.
If I could go back to Professor X real quick, I'm sorry. I didn't want to interrupt earlier, but I am someone who watched the X-Men animated series pretty heavily when I was a kid. It was on at 5. Spider-Man was on at 5:30. Very important on and then it was 8:30 in Saturday mornings, if I'm not mistaken. Cartoon Network or Fox. No, it was Fox Cartoon Saturdays. So I watched the cartoon when I was a kid. The only comics I owned were X-Men comics. It was my babysitter's oldest son's hand-me-downs. and it was just a ton of X-Men comics, a lot of Nightcrawler, if I remember. And then obviously X-Men and X2 came out, and my life was changed forever. You know, like those are foundational movies for people who like comic book movies, you know, specifically our age group. You know, so seeing Professor X, seeing the yellow chair in live action, and then the way they did this thing, it was subtle. I am such a sucker for a subtle, like piano or synthesizer version of a theme I know. You know, did you guys watch the Top Gun trailer before this movie?
Oh yeah, the extended look we got at it, that was
when
gorgeous.
They hit that sting at the end, it's just like, I'm back. This is it. It's Top Gun.
Yeah.
So the theme that they played, the chair, the fact that it's Patrick Stewart, and then they just kept going, the waves, the circle waves coming out of his head. What an incredible decision and touch. They introduced my favorite comic book thing, X-Men, in my favorite comic book universe in such an amazing way. And I just want to shout out how much care Sam Raimi and Feige, that whole sequence screamed Kevin Feige. Everything from Professor X screamed Kevin Feige. And I want to shout out how much care and effort they put into him specifically, knowing how big of a deal that is to people who grew up watching these movies. And, you know, there is no Fantastic Four movie where we're all like, yeah, man, that's my childhood. You know, like we don't say that about those movies. But we do with X-Men, and we do with that character. And comics don't exist without the X-Men. In sense, you know what I mean? Comic books are not being printed today if Chris Claremont didn't do what he did with the X-Men in the 80s. And to do this in the MCU the way they did it, just want to shout it out. Brilliant execution of Professor X.
That's awesome.
I agree. And I remember that I believe you were worried that you don't like the idea of bringing in variants, a word that's never used in the film, of characters that we're going to be introduced to for the first time in a movie. So before we dive into the body horror of it all, I really want to know how you feel now, having seen Krasinski as. I get the feeling that we're gonna get Black Bolt, Reed Richards, and Charles Xavier much sooner than later now.
Oh, we have to, because they used Anson Mount, which is the actor who played Black Bolt in the series. If they wanted to reintroduce this character without those ties, I don't think they would have chosen the same guy. My
argument, No Way Home. My argument with that specifically is No Way Home, but great point by you.
No, tell me, what is it?
Well, just the fact that No Way Home introduced a bunch of characters with old actors as well. That seems to be the motif.
Oh, yes. No, you're right.
Legacy actors returning at least for a one-off. Krasinski's the only non-legacy actor to play a returning character.
My rebuttal to that would be that for No Way Home, they did it strictly out of familiarity. Would you say anyone's familiar with the Inhumans show? Absolutely not. And all excellent points. I'm just trying to manifest a way to get John Krasinski in the MCU for a long time. I'm going to get you there, because using Anson Mount as Black Bolt is the biggest telltale sign they could use to say that they want to refer to all of these variants later when it matters. Every single variant, even though they didn't use the word, that we saw in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness looked exactly like the person we already knew. Even Lashana Lynch as Captain Marvel, she looks like the same exact person. We saw Peggy as Captain Carter. She didn't even look that much bigger. Like we see Mordo, he's the same. We see Professor X, he's the same as the guy we saw from movies, 20 years ago. And more recently than that. But every other variant we saw up there, with the exception of John Krasinski, was a legacy character, someone we've already viewed in another Marvel medium as a version of that character, or at least within that story. So to throw in that sixth guy is like the oddball who's going to be different once he's properly introduced just feels wrong to me. I agree. I can't imagine that all of these people would be the same, but then for Krasinski, they're like, well, the fans really like you, so can we just kind of tease them for a minute before we actually tell this story with someone else? That does not feel to me like that's where they're going with this. So it's an interesting concept that we're working with here. Obviously, the can of worms has been opened, but had we not opened that can of worms, we don't get Endgame. I think we'll all trade that in for the day. So yeah, Thomas, you said it yourself. I was super worried about introducing these new characters we know we're getting in the future as variants just to be killed off. What I appreciate about it in this movie specifically
is that they weren't there just to be killed off. They established that universe a little bit. They were such a great creative use of exploration, and then they fought Wanda. And it's a Hulk versus Thanos situation where that really sets where Wanda's at power-wise.
Yes.
And I think it's very well done in that respect. And we'll talk about the deaths, but specifically with the idea of just the future of these characters, it's just so interesting that how wide of a spectrum they've cast with John Krasinski could be the future Reed Richards for the next 15 years. We're not getting Patrick Stewart in the MCU for long term. There's no way. He can't. He's been doing this for 25 years.
Great point.
He had a rough time pulling Wanda out of the rubble in this movie. Nothing against Patrick Stewart. You're still making great fandom movies. But
they set the tone. You're right. They set the tone for Professor X, and now they have to one up that. Absolutely.
Which is what I was worried about. I was worried about whoever they cast next for Professor X, the first tweet from some random account is going to be, yeah, but he's not better than Charles Xavier, and he's in the MCU too, so he's the best MCU. I don't like that narrative, and that's why I was afraid of them doing this. It worked for me here. So shocking. I'm genuinely shocked that I liked it, right? But I just think John Krasinski is such a great play moving forward, and it's the simple fact that in Loki, we saw variants that looked like Tom Hiddleston, and we saw variants that were very much not Tom Hiddleston. So, as little as they use Loki in this movie, and by little I mean none, they have introduced the concept of variants looking different. Here we did not get that, except for Lashana Lynch and Reed Richards. It's not Ian McGuff or Miles Teller. So that's something. It's not canon something, but at least in my head it's something.
I like that. I like your train of thought there to where I'm looking at it as what we've already gotten. You're looking forward to see, well, practically what can we expect? Because you're right. I don't see Patrick Stewart being the MCU Professor X. I just don't think that's practical. Yeah. Not if they want to actually use Professor X in any sort of capacity for more than like a year.
If you're going to use Professor X the way he's supposed to be used and the stories are going to tell, then we need a different professor. I need James McAvoy, but I think that they have left the door open enough. I think with Loki showing two different types of variants and this movie showing very specific variants, nobody has a defined answer. And if you don't have a defined answer, then there is no answer. Meaning, why not John Krasinski?
Exactly. Yeah.
I really think a lot. I was following you and I had thoughts and I didn't write a thing down. Professor X and bringing back Patrick Stewart for Professor X here gets him. What better way to send off? What like a post-credit scene for Professor X
for the character
in Patrick Stewart's life than to wrap the way it was in Logan and then come back for this. Right? How many times has he died on film? 4?
Like three or four now.
This is 3.
I think third time's the charm. Yeah. I really think he might be done now. And
killed by 2 Dark Phoenixes. Am I right? Huh?
Well, this one was rough. I mean, someone posted like a slow-mo replay of it. I didn't realize what she actually did to him until I watched that. She didn't snap his neck. She literally tore his head in half. His bottom part of his head and the top part of his head go different ways. Like,
and it's zombie Wanda too.
It's way more brutal than anything I thought we were watching in the moment.
Think about the context of that scene. They do the classic Chuck Xavier inside someone's head. White walls, central focused items, right?
Yep.
He's pulling our metaphysical Wanda out of the trap that Scarlet Witch has set her in. Think about what Scarlet Witch looked like in her own head. A demon, like a straight up demon. That is a great personification of the Wanda that we get throughout this movie. Can't wait to talk about that. But you just blew my mind with that. I think that's an awesome little touch that they put in. Scarlet Witch in her core, demon. Demon lady.
Each one of them that she killed, she used their exact ability against them, including Professor X. By his head was the weapon, so she eliminated the weapon. So, it was very, very brutal. But yeah, I had to throw that in because it's very infrequently that I get shocked from a movie after I'm already done seeing it. And when I scrolled past that on Twitter, I was like, oh, like that's way worse than what I thought happened. This movie really felt like they were pushing that PG-13 boundary. We've seen glimpses of it here and there, but this was the movie where if they would have rated it R, I would have probably been like, well, okay, you probably could have gotten away with PG-13, but it does walk that line where it could very easily teeter over into that R-rated territory.
So having Patrick Stewart back also means that now Hugh Jackman has no reason not to be in Deadpool 3.
Oh God.
for a wrap up. But
this is what I was worried about.
Yeah. This is something that I definitely.
Why not Tony Stark in the Black Panther movie? You know, who says
God,
no?
Yeah.
we had a great story for him. He's been in the MCU. You know, give him like one nightcap basically.
Yeah.
But do it with Deadpool and Ryan Levy. Anyways, but
Deadpool.
So we talked about Professor X's death. I think that's maybe the tamest one in terms of.
That's the crazy.
It's the crazy thing because like it's the only one where I'm like, I mean, I saw that coming and that sucks and it's gross, but like he's an old man. I mean, it's not really a physical match in any way, shape, or form, even for Wanda physically.
I love that he was the big boss though at the end.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He was the one that was like
first four, and then there's Charles Xavier. Love that.
Yep.
Great
levels to it.
And I love how she is. You know, we saw the witch powers from Ultron earlier on, and it's good to see that it's so strong that not only is she stronger than the Sorcerer Supreme, that means her mind is stronger than Professor Xavier, the smartest telepath in the world. Can we get a Dark Phoenix versus Scarlet Witch fight now? But let's talk about Black Bolt and how they land in and all that. And first, the fuck off, Mr. Smart Reed Richards. Why? That was my second F-bomb. I'm so sorry, PG-13
you already
rating.
did it. That wasn't even half an hour apart.
I know, man. My bad. Mondays. Am I right?
Am I right? Come on.
How can you be the smartest man across a multiverse and the first thing you say is, well, Black Bolt can blow you away with his mouth?
He did kind of seem like a cockier Captain America.
That was like the most egotistical multiversal prejudice BS I've ever seen in my life.
They were all like that. They were all on their high horse.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, then she says, what mouth? And I'm like, oh, okay, that's gross. That's uncomfortable. And then I'm like watching him and I'm like, what is he doing? He starts freaking out and then he screams and I go, why would you scream? What the
freaked out?
Frack? That's fair. That's fair. My question is, because of his power, I don't know. Well, when he starts vibrating his vocal cords, does he have to release that? Or else that happens?
It's all from his voice. Yeah. It's not
from here, not here, right?
Yeah, that's exactly. That's why I'm like, was he going like building it up?
You heard him kind of be like worried, like he is terrified.
Even the slightest sound, like a whisper. I think like the main thing people reference from the comics is like he whispered once and it knocked the Hulk out. Like it's not like a cause and effect
thing.
Yeah. He can like scream a planet away or something, but like it's crazy power levels, but it's not something that like it creates. It literally just is the vibrations from his vocal cords. Like that's what they cause, you know,
which
it's very crazy.
But I mean, that's my thing. That was my question. Like everybody can vibrate their vocal cords without resonating. Like would that have blown him up?
But I hear that, and the sound, the audible noise is the damage. Is like, that's what it is.
All right, let's all do "In the Jungle" by Billy Joel. Let's just. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, back. I just had to know. His brain explodes, and through his little rubber mask, you see it, and then it can concaves.
And you hear the fork go out too, and you hear the
yeah.
Most violent death in any Marvel movie ever made.
That was rough.
Yeah,
that was really rough.
Through your Deadpool, this is more violent.
What was that one more violent, or is string cheesing Reed Richards? And I haven't seen anyone talk about his fucking brain popping. Like, are you kidding me? That was the part where I was like, I don't like this.
Great
Black
screen,
Bolt
there.
Yeah. Like Black Bolt happening freaked me out, caught me off guard. The blood coming into the eyes and nose made me unwell. But watching Reed Richards get strung cheese alive when right after, the whole, I have children too.
Stop, man.
And she's like, do you have a wife? Yes.
One of the
Is she
coldest
alive?
lines in the MCU incoming.
Yes.
Good.
And good. It means someone will be around to raise them when you're gone.
Come
And
on,
just
man.
string cheese. And we watch Reed Richards die. Again, his brain pops because
Red
she
and pink.
just stretches it. It's disgusting. Then we jump. At that point, it's recognized that, oh boy, we're probably not going to survive this, but hey, let's fight anyway.
Well, let's move around a little bit, is what they decide.
Set up this little Illuminati pig pen for Wanda to just pick them off one by one.
We are the physical creatures of this team. Let's move around a little.
Sure. Anyways, the silent Agent Carter runs around and ends up getting sliced in half. Kind of like
sick.
Cap, like Zombie Cap. So that was fun.
Yeah. Another what if parallel.
lie, pal. Terrible
Yeah.
line for that joke.
Of course, we get some good lines. I can do this all day. I didn't pop the first time. I was like, nice. But then the second time, I'm like, hey, it lands so much better.
Yeah,
like
it's great.
Because I was still scarred the first viewing of the whole brain.
Then you had Lashana Lynch's flat line that said, "Get out of my universe."
Yeah,
It's
get
like-
out of my universe.
Could not have been
second
more
worst
on
line
the
in the
nose
movie.
about it.
Yeah, it's
Second
just
worst line in the movie by far.
really.
It was very bad. Well, okay, here, Matt, what was your first? What was the worst one?
I mean, I'd be shocked if we don't all agree. It's when Christine Palmer grabs a magic hand cannon, looks at a ghost in the face, and strictly says, "Go back to hell." Bang. Come on, man! Like
Okay, that
was like Kevin Feige saying, "All right, Sam, you get what?"
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That was the one where I went, really?
Yeah.
That
didn't
was
have to say that.
the first and second time. I'm like,
It was really cool to see Christine use that cauldron though, because
do stuff.
as you guys know, it was in the first movie, and Strange didn't know how to use it. She picks it up and she's like, "I got this," and she's scorching those souls like it's not. I love that. That was one of the few like Doctor Strange callbacks that I think really worked for this movie. The problem was it didn't feel like it just felt like a Doctor Strange callback that was shoved into another movie. It didn't feel like a follow-up from the first film. But
very much
we've gone through pretty much all of these cameo deaths minus Maria Rambeau,
Marvel?
which might be the least memorable because all you did was drop
Really?
something on her.
Well, before that, she sucks her power out.
That was cool.
Yes,
Which
she did.
I didn't get the first time, but the second time, if you think about it, that's Captain Marvel powered by the Tesseract and the Scarlet Witch powered by the Mind Stone,
right?
If you will.
Yeah.
I mean, boosted by the Darkhold, of course. But they're fighting, and she rips out the power of Monica Rambeau's mother.
Yeah. How do you
Dude,
not get romantic about the MCU, huh?
It's crazy. That's
Good
crazy.
It's good stuff, man.
I can't wait till Wanda and Monica fight. And she goes, "Oh, I killed your mother once." You what?
Interesting of you to say that Wanda will be sticking around.
I mean, I didn't see a body. We'll get there, but there's no body. No body, no death. I'm looking at you.
Even if a mountain was dropped on top of it. But yeah, so we've gone through.
I'm going to talk about Hela in a minute. Okay, we're going to talk about an explosion of magical energy.
What?
She dropped her own throne on top of her head.
Own throne, which
Yes.
just happened to be carved into a mountain. Yes, you're right.
That's
my bad.
badass.
Was it the only one in existence? There's a lot of questions here. Illuminati. We've wrapped up this whole section. They're killed. It was my least favorite part.
And Mordo is on his own to rebuild the 838 Illuminati.
It's important to note that Mordo is a slippery little devil. He's always going to get away, and is saving him for the third film. Maybe not.
Like
I don't
Loki.
know. He's just
Not
like
great.
Loki. He wears the green and the gold. Fucking Loki is
The dreads are cool. The dreads are cool.
I did like
love the dread. The dreads are
Dreads are
legit.
nice.
Keep that alive. But what was your favorite? I have two questions. A, what was your favorite death? And then B, I need your 616 Illuminati.
You go.
Oh, all right. So yeah, Thomas, let's start with you on that one.
Favorite death? None of them. Can't even lie.
Boo.
Yeah, that's maybe we should have started with Thomas.
Hey, listen.
We're friends a long time, Thomas. I'll call you out on your own podcast. No.
Hey, listen. I mean, Sure, probably Professor
cool.
X, because that was OP as fuck.
It really
Like
was.
that was just
That
so
was when you
OP.
knew.
Yeah,
It
I was
such a
like,
vibe. The white walls
Yeah.
just make it such a vibe in that scene.
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, and there was a feeling that like he was gonna fix it. That like everyone else perished, but like, oh, but Professor X, this guy knows what he's doing. You
And
know,
Wanda dips, dude.
Right,
Wanda's
yeah.
like, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. She said, "I want nothing to do with this."
sayonara. But my 616 Illuminati. So it's important to note that if you look at the Illuminati in 838, we have the leader of the Inhumans.
Mhm.
We have
Absolutely.
Captain Carter. You got to assume the leader of the Avengers. Professor X, the leader of the X-Men. Mordo, the leader of magic. Probably the Sorcerer Supreme.
Definitely the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, he said it, didn't he? When
Did
Doctor
he?
Strange died, he said you
Yeah.
probably handed him the Darkhold so you could take his spot as Sorcerer Supreme, right?
You're right. That was
Great
mentioned.
scene
yeah.
by Benedict Cumberbatch there, by the way.
Great scene. He knew
Great acting there.
when you saw the light bulb go off, and he's like, "I know how to get
I'm gonna
through to
piss
this
this guy
Yeah.
off. Yep.
Yeah.
I
Very
bet
well
it's
done.
him too. Very well done. A lot of acting there.
You know what they
And
say
then-
about Captain Marvel? The defender of the cosmos.
Yes,
Mm.
exactly.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And then we get Reed Richards, the Baxter leader of the Baxter Foundation, which could be a
Smartest man
whole
alive.
realm of superheroes. Smartest man alive, leader of the Fantastic Four. So that's a lot of teams that have their peak guy there, right?
Yeah.
So obviously this isn't even fair. Wong, Captain
Duh.
Marvel, and Bruce. I can't
Ooh,
believe I'm
okay.
putting Bruce on this, but I think Bruce would be an Illuminati member. I think he would feel, I mean, since he's the only person alive to have wielded Infinity Stones all at once, pretty big
Excellent
deal.
point.
Pretty big deal.
Mhm.
So then who's going to lead off these other, realms there? We've got Avengers, Cosmos. I think eventually, instead of Black Bolt, we'll have Namor, the leader of the Atlanteans.
Okay.
Whomever leads Wakanda, I think they might be, due to their scientific advancements, could take the place of Reed Richards in
Sounds like
the
Shuri.
smartness. Ooh, shout out Shuri. And I'm then going to have to somehow figure out a way for Professor Xavier to end up on this as well in the future. That was my 6, right? That was 6.
You did land
Black
on 6.
Panther.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well
Patrick
done.
Stewart. It's not Patrick Stewart, but it's Professor X. What about
Yeah.
you, Matt?
My favorite death was Black Bolt. I just think that was another moment where I'm genuinely shocked, and then it just kept happening. You know what I mean? Like Thomas, I'm the same way as you. I don't like horror movies. Won't watch them. Won't touch them. My wife doesn't like that. I won't watch them. Don't care. I do appreciate the vibe of this horror movie, though. You know what I mean? Like this is Marvel doing a genre movie again, and I appreciate the vibe of it. Black Bolt's a great example of that. I just think that's so cool. And also the amount of people I've had to explain, like she didn't just blow up his head. He blew up his head. She just took away his mouth. That's it. Like, I love that. So that's my favorite, my 616 Illuminati. Okay. Let me think through this. Tony, or are we doing living people?
I was doing living.
Okay.
But-
So
I'll
if you
stick
were to
with
build
living.
it
I'll stick
right
with
now,
living. Yeah. So Bruce, for sure. Brie Larson's Carol Danvers, absolutely. Great leader, powerful member of the team. I'm saying Shuri straight up. If I were to pick anybody to be Black Panther, I think Shuri just makes the most sense. She's smart. She's got the lineage. All she needs is one 80s montage with the Koye to get up there. That's all it took, Luke. Let's give it to Shuri. I thought that would be good.
Hell yeah.
So I'm going to go Shuri there. Wong. Yeah, Wong's a good pick. Wong's the pick, I think. I don't like what they're doing with Doctor Strange, if I'm being honest. We can get to that later. I'll say Wong. Moving forward, Chris Pratt. As the military leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm going to say Chris Pratt. You know what? Switch it back. Rocket. Rocket's going to be my Guardians representative because he's an Avenger now. And then, I need one more, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
you do.
Clint Barton.
Oh,
Son of a bitch.
Veteran, savvy guy that Captain America trusts. And that's all the
Wow.
credentials he needs.
wow. Yeah.
The heart of the Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he'd be the most reluctant out of any of them, but yeah, he'd be great.
I like the idea of in the comics, a big part of the Clint Barton character is that, why should I care about you? And because he's got Captain America's word. You know what I mean? Like Steve Rogers vouches for Clint Barton, and that's a big part of the character. I like the idea of adapting that in the MCU in this way. One of the only people who's ever tamed Wanda Maximoff has ever. Clint Barton.
Good point.
Ooh,
good point. We need someone like that.
Pick for real. Then
no one was thinking to call. Right.
Yeah. None of this makes sense.
Oh man.
JRB.
Yeah. So real quick, we do have some people going off in our chat here. Gary Ball has stuck with us the whole show.
Oh, nice. Yes.
When we were going to dive into our Multiverse of Madness spoilers, he said you can dive in, but make sure you do it in deep water. Oh, the waters are only getting deeper. And then we have our good friend Klein Felt saying, "Hey, it's my fave people." What is up, Klein?
Me and Klein were on the same side of a Twitter argument today, guys, and it was a scary feeling. I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit.
That's hilarious.
Oh man, everybody knows Klein will defend his Twitter takes to the death.
Twitter assassin Klein Felt.
Twitter assassin Klein Felt. Love it. Absolutely. So, Multiverse of Madness, my favorite cameo death. If I had to say I enjoyed any of them more than the others, I have to say it was probably Black Bolt. Because it was, first of all, the first one, so it caught you the most off guard.
Shocking.
But that whole sequence of what mouth, you zoom out, you see he's missing his mouth. Before you can even process what's happening, he's freaking out. He drops dead, and you're kind of just left picking up these pieces while she's already moved on to Mr. Fantastic, who's also getting strung cheese up, as Thomas would say.
Great work by Anson Mount there.
Yeah,
great.
I mean, that whole scene was so well done. And like you said, it was the Illuminati had a greater purpose than just establishing the power scale of Wanda Maximoff, but they also did that pretty dang well. My 616 Illuminati. I like Bruce. I think I'll stick with Bruce. I think they're keeping him around as that figure. If anything, maybe we'll get some Maestro from him later on, since they've kind of scrapped the Planet Hulk plans that they might have had. So I think that would be really cool. I think just since we saw that Shang-Chi post-credit scene, I think Captain Marvel is probably on that lineup too. She spent virtually no time on Earth, but yet they continue to position her as one of the most important characters. So I think she's going to play a big role going forward too. I am going to say, though, that Monica Rambeau will end up on that lineup.
Smart.
Alongside Captain Marvel, not instead of her. I think they're setting up a very interesting dynamic between those two characters, and I think it would be really cool to see that dynamic on that scale of the Illuminati, where they do butt heads, but it's at the level of deciding how to handle world-ending threats. Is you have both of those perspectives contributing to a solution. So Bruce, Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau. There we go. And
Spectrum,
then
Spectrum or Photon?
So,
What's your favorite?
I don't know, because I like the Photon name better, but I like Spectrum's comic arcs better.
Yeah.
So I don't. So okay. All right. Cool. So yeah, I don't know. I like what they're doing, so I don't care what they call it.
I can't wait to find out, though.
I know. It'll probably be Spectrum, but either way, I'm going to be psyched when they finally do that. Especially with the vision that she was having in WandaVision.
Energy spectrum, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So that's three of them. White Vision, I would like to see as number 4.
Ooh.
Because that is a fully revitalized Vision who seems to have very little emotional attachment to Wanda, despite having those memories, because he didn't stick around to help her in WandaVision. He got out of there.
Yeah, not in this movie either.
Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute. Because just like we didn't find Mordo, if you wanted to make me believe this was a WandaVision continuation and you didn't put Vision in it, you've got some problems, bro. But we're going to get to that. So that's 4. Groot will be my number 5.
Love it.
Because yeah, exactly. They don't all need to talk,
Yeah.
But Groot would be my 5th, essentially for the reason of the Groot that we met in Guardians 1, and then the valiant acts we saw of Groot in Infinity War, where he temporarily sacrificed his own arm to build Stormbreaker. So that would be 5 for me. We kind of see that potential there. Number 6, I want to see it be someone from like X-Men. I don't know if I want it to be Professor X. I feel like that would be a pretty obvious choice. But I would love to see someone else like Storm or Cyclops take that spot. You know, have like an alpha level mutant that's not Professor X, to where they can use Professor X for all of the X-Men stuff, but then have another leader figure from the X-Men kind of take over that role, so they can more directly incorporate the team in their endeavors, if that makes sense. So yeah, mine's much more obscure, very unlikely, but it would be a very MCU original way of doing it, if you will.
I like that.
Do you guys think we get to Illuminati in the MCU ever, or is that just another example of like, this is a utopia MCU? Like, at our best, we have 6 different superhero teams, and all their leaders make up our Avengers.
I don't know. I feel like with how they set up Strange's potential 3rd movie, Matt, you make a good point. I saw you tweet about this, or maybe it was through stuff we do with the director or something, but you said like, essentially with the way that post-credit scene went, it doesn't feel like we're going to see Strange again until his next movie. Or maybe just a small cameo somewhere to set up that movie, but like, they've kind of removed him from the equation, at least for the foreseeable future. Right. If the Illuminati were to take form in the MCU, I feel like that idea would come from him. So,
and he would have to be a part of it. Yeah, you're right.
Exactly right. Yeah. And so, I mean, if anything, maybe we'll see him try to implement that after the events of his 3rd film, because he's jumping back into the dark dimension, as we saw. And it seems like he's being even more reckless than before. We got to get to that, by the way. So yeah, 616 Illuminati.
I love it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know if we're going to get to that in the MCU, considering that universe didn't have Avengers or Guardians or anything that we knew of. So
Captain Carter, the first Avenger.
It did say that.
Yeah, that was. I was really hoping it would be the What If Captain Carter, but now I see that you wouldn't have really.
Yeah.
I don't know if
you couldn't really do that without spending too much time on her, you know?
It's not proof it's not, but it's also
that's true.
Not proof it is.
Yeah.
Because it could be like another Captain Carter.
Well, the tie goes to the runner though, right? If you want to believe it is, there's no reason to say it doesn't.
Yeah, just because
unless you also want to believe that the What If version of Captain Carter is now dead.
Doesn't she come back?
What?
Oh, no, you're right. Because if this is that version, then she got cut in half by her own
shield.
Yeah.
Because like she's set up in a post-credit scene, but then like we saw her getting. So yeah, if you want to believe that's her, then sayonara.
Nope.
You know,
popping off that trade pretty quick.
That would totally take away What If season 2.
Episode, that's a great episode of What If, guys. Episode 1.
It's a very strong start. Yeah, she has a great arc in that show. But
I think
Thomas,
it too.
We have a whole act of this movie left that we have to get to. Luckily, it moves pretty quickly.
It does. We have barely talked about our main characters. We really just spoke on the Illuminati. Wonder Gore is where the throne of Wanda and the Hall of the Darkhold is held. Parts unknown. I'm calling it somewhere near what will become Latveria. So it looks very Latverian to me. And I think that we should talk about America Chavez, because her whole arc comes up to this point in the plot of the season 3, Act 3. We're just jumping to Act 3, kids, for the most part. We'll sum up some stuff. We see her memory of losing her moms, and she doesn't know how to control her power. She's a multiversal being. She's the only being of her kind in the multiverse. She's a Nexus being.
Say Nexus, you cowards. Why did they refuse to say vocabulary from Loki? I don't get it.
Or WandaVision, because they brought up Nexus in one of those weird commercials that they had going on, but they're not saying it in the movie.
Yeah. So, which I don't, I think that it's just the touch of the multiverse here. You know, this is the
a good point.
You know, it's been talked about. I think you talked about it, Matt, and a bunch of almost every review I've listened to has talked about this is like dipping your toes in the multiverse because we're leading to Secret Wars. Like that's the eventual idea. Like all these incursions will lead to a Secret War world and a lot of battle worlds and a Thor core. Do it, cowards! Give me a whole trilogy of a lot of Thors fighting each other or together.
He's got eyes of the bluest skies and it ain't gonna break.
Looking at the people.
My brothers? Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was letting you go. I was just staring into your eyes.
Hey, don't tempt me. I will sing on this podcast. I will just straight up do it.
But Wondagore, what do you guys think about it being Wanda's throne? And then no, that's not what we're talking about. We were talking about America Chavez. That's it. Back to America Chavez. She gets kidnapped in 838 by Wanda. Well, technically, she gets kidnapped in the Book of Ashanti location. The 15th MacGuffin of the movie that gets set on fire. And it's also important for everyone to note that, did you guys see what the one thing we saw from inside was?
Star.
It was a star on the last page burnt. And that book is meant for America Chavez in the same way the Darkhold was meant for Wanda Maximoff, which is very cool. And my question, before we officially leave 838 and jump to this kidnapping, did Wanda have powers in 838 before the Scarlet Witch came in? Because that seemed weird to me when she all of a sudden just uses powers and we didn't establish she had them before.
Can you use powers through dreamwalking, or are you limited to whatever that universe has at their disposal?
She is the Scarlet Witch.
Doctor Strange brought a dead person to life.
Yes.
Great point. So it does transfer.
I feel like it's a cuffs are off situation.
Yeah, it does definitely seem like it when he brought a dead guy back to life who's using magic.
Cool.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
That's Matt's favorite part of the third act.
Yeah, so we don't know. Was she an enhanced being at all in Universe 838? Or was she truly just living a normal life?
Universe where Wanda really did hang it up. You know, I've left
hang it up or never had it at all.
I think hang it up. You know, I left this magic behind me kind of thing. Like in the classic Will Smith film, I Am Legend, where his wife has lived an entire life with powers and just didn't bring them up until it was time to bring them up.
Huh. Okay.
You guys didn't see I Am Legend?
No, have you seen it?
No, that's not I Am Legend. It's Hancock.
Hancock. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, okay. I was like,
that's on me. That's on me.
I was like, was the superpower?
Oh, also Charlize Theron.
I was about to say, isn't that Charlize Theron?
Charlize Theron. Nice.
Wow, okay,
the Will Smith multiverse of madness. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hey, I would watch the hell out of that movie. You kidding me?
Hey, keep his wife's out your name. Wife's name out your mouth.
Wife's out your name.
I didn't even want to say the same lines. I yoded it, but
you did Yoda.
I did Yoda it, yeah. Brain be like that. But thank you. It makes it a lot better when I get off track. I feel a lot better about it.
It's the best.
That's like I love watching him just say a lot and stare off into space. Yeah. But there it is.
America Chavez.
America Chavez. What do you think about her character up to the point of accepting power?
Talking to me. So I think that if you are going to have a character so important to the story, this is a MacGuffin. Like America Chavez is a MacGuffin of this movie. She's what Wanda wants, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to have a character like this, you need to make us care about them immediately. I think Sam Raimi did an amazing job with that in the sense of she's betrayed by a character we know and love right away. Instant sympathy. You know, we don't really need to know more about her to know that she's on our team and we should be rooting for her. So I think that was a great decision. Throughout the movie, she's definitely more just comedic relief than anything else. I think Xochitl Gomez was a star here. I think that she was charismatic and fun. She was the classic MCU brand actor. You know what I mean? Much like Haley Steinfeld just fits in the MCU being who she is. I think Xochitl Gomez does the same here. On paper, the lesson she learns is just to believe in herself, which is, you know what I mean? You know, that's not something that we all love. That line, those lines delivered, you know, hey, every time you send us somewhere, you send us to where we needed to be. I think I like the concept of those lines. It's simply the fact that it's a Harvey Dent zombie Doctor Strange saying them that really pulls me out of the movie a little bit.
Okay.
What's really unfortunate is for me, and this is Monday Morning Quarterback. Obviously, I can nitpick a movie that's already been made. What do I know, right? But I think that they established that our Doctor Strange talking meant that the zombie Doctor Strange was also talking. It's a puppet situation. I think it would have been such a better editing decision to cut to our Doctor Strange saying the important lines. So one, it doesn't take us out of it. And two, Christine gets to hear those lines too.
Yes.
You never give anybody else a scalpel. This is literally him giving somebody else a scalpel.
Exactly.
I'm not going to take your powers. I'm the same as every other dickhead Strange throughout the universe because I use the Darkhold and I Dream Walk and I'm just a hypocrite, except I'm not going to take your powers. Man, it would have been cool to see Christine hear that. Like, that would have brought so much, just a little more depth into it, wouldn't have taken me out of it. So that's not America Chavez's fault as a character. I just think that it's unfortunate that her climax moment was met with what I consider a decision they made with Zombie Strange. Really just takes me out of the movie in a really big way. The zombie talking thing has never been my favorite. I didn't like it in Hocus Pocus. I didn't like it here. So it's unfortunate, but the idea that America Chavez exists, I love. Where she's going, who the hell knows, right? Like there's no way she is a part of any small story at this point, I think.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
it's interesting.
Karmatage got a huge piece when she signed on.
Karmatage stuff.
Yeah,
so
now she's learning
it's going to be a while until we see America Chavez again.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think I'm on the same page as you, but who knows what Wong is doing? He's training the Abomination. Now he's got a multiversal trekking warrior who likes
and he's
pizza.
An Avenger.
And he just keeps adding to his roster. So who knows what's going on there? Thomas, did you like America?
Yeah, I absolutely
America.
Absolutely loved right from the jump. When someone steps on screen and you're just like, oh, okay, that's who this character is. Like, I see you in motion now. It's not a picture. It's not anything. It's just straight chewing scenery type vibes, because an actor is just so in. That's what it was like from the jump. And she makes a couple little subtle moves and I go, that's why she's cast. Like, right, those two things, like those two little minor reactions, no words, exactly why she was chosen. And then it just carried all throughout the film. She's the final girl in this horror movie, guys. She's the final girl living through all this horror, being chased by a monster who's lost their way. And at the end, she has to just believe in herself a little bit, which, as pushing to younger kids, that's a great moral, right? Believe in the Force, trust in the Force, and it'll surround you and whatever. By the way, shout out to the R2D2 cup that Matt's been drinking out of. Yeah, it's been great. I've been trying to hold back, but I couldn't not to after a Force.
I got it in Longboat Key, Florida. The things you can get in Florida, guys, it's insane.
we got everything down here. It's a tourist trap. But it was beautifully done with her, and that's where I started crying, when she owned it and when she saw her mother. Her mother's get sucked through the portal, right? Those are two very important emotional beats that are done so well that everything else just adds depth to that character in a very non-linear way, which I love. And the way that it also ties in the Doctor Strange theory of it all, the Doctor Strange story is also great. He does give the scalpel away. Fucking finally. That is what I think Xavier saw. He's not too bad. Like, oh, you gotta be the guy holding the knife. He gave away the time stone, died, came back, all because he knew Tony Stark would be able to do the damn job.
I have theories.
Oh, Matt.
Okay.
Go.
If I may.
Matt,
if I may. Sorry to kind of derail you here, but
go for it.
The idea that Doctor Strange is constantly being told, hey, don't do this or this will happen. Don't break this rule or this catastrophic event might take place. And he just keeps doing it over and over and over. The first thing he does when he gets the time zone, starts breaking rules that he's not supposed to break. And then he enters the dark dimension, does the time loop thing, which he's not supposed to do, but it works out. And then he gives up the time stone, which he's not supposed to do, but it works out. And then the entire point of this movie is that he's different than the other Doctor Stranges that use the Darkhold. All these guys used the Darkhold and dreamwalked. That's why they were a threat to the universes they were in. Doctor Strange, our Doctor Strange, 616, Stephen Strange, different. But guys, how does he win the movie? He uses the Darkhold and he dreamwalks. And he doesn't just break a rule. He doesn't just do the one spell you can't do in the book that you can't use. He does it with a zombie, which the ghosts tell him is also breaking a rule. So we're triple Yahtzee into breaking rules here with old Doc Strange. And then at the end of the day, he gets the third eye, and we're all like, oh my God, he's finally getting his comeuppance. But, one post-credit scene later, Charlize Theron walks in, and she's like, hey, you want to go do this thing? And he's like, hell yeah, I got my third eye. Let's roll. I'm like, when is this guy ever going? I'm never going to believe ever again in a Doctor Strange movie when they say, hey, don't do this. It's bad. I'm never going to believe that he's not going to do it. He's going to do it, and he's going to be fine. And this brings me to my next point. Wanda Maximoff has a point. She's got a very good point. Strange can do whatever he wants, and no one says a single word. Why can't Wanda? And that's her whole point in the movie. Yeah, she killed a bunch of people, sure. But, it does... The theme of the movie is you break the rules and you're the hero. I break the rules, I become the villain. That doesn't seem fair. That line holds throughout the entire movie. One of the only consistent things about this movie is Wanda's motivations, and it hinges around Doctor Strange. And, Thomas, you mentioned he gave the time stone because he knew Tony Stark was going to bust it up. Here's a crackpot one for you, right?
Oh.
The Ancient One says in 2016's hit movie Doctor Strange, she says, you can only see up until the moment that you die. I've looked forward in time millions of times, and I always come down to this moment. So when you look forward in time, you only see until the point where you die. So we saw clearly there was a universe where they beat Thanos and Tony didn't die. Doctor Strange died. What if 1 in 14 million is actually 1 in 14 million, parentheses, where Doctor Strange doesn't die? Close parentheses.
Ooh.
The idea that he is not just breaking the rules by giving up the time stone, he's doing it because he's only able to see universes where he can't die.
Oh, wow.
So
There's like an asterisk on it.
Exactly. He doesn't see them winning because every other universe where Tony doesn't die, he's the one that dies. So he was right. What he saw, Tony had to die to win, but he couldn't see the ones where he had to die to win, which we clearly saw in the Illuminati, which means the guy from Dope Sick at the beginning of the movie, when he says, I wonder if there was another way, brings it all back around. This is a confusing movie, guys. I don't really know. I like it and I hate it more every time I think about it. It's crazy.
It's fun. It is. It's a lot of fun. I think we're back. We're truly in the era of the MCU again, where we can just enjoy these films as they come without treating them like these big event films where we get to learn more rather than just see stuff play out. I think one of this movie's biggest faults was that it was touted and marketed for so long as one of those event films when really it shouldn't have been.
Fair enough.
And that might have changed. They did cut a lot out of this movie. Raimi said that they cut half an hour out, but then you have to start asking what's that?
Did he say why?
I don't know. I don't remember reading if they had a reason. I think he said that it had a lot to do with fan engagement during their test screenings and stuff. They wanted to.
They didn't cut out the Sam Raimi stuff. I'll tell you that.
No, they didn't come out the damn Sam Raimi stuff. No, but they didn't. I don't want to say dumb it down, but he said that they wanted to cater more towards the wider audience, and focus specifically on the things that he knows they would enjoy. So I don't know what they mean by that, but I have to ask, was Vision included in those cuts? Because he was Wanda's whole motivation for what happened in WandaVision, and then as soon as she gets her hands on the Darkhold, all of a sudden she's found closure and is completely moved on from her grief when it comes to Vision. Now, that's sort of believable, kind of, because she did get that closure at the end of the series. Great scene. Great scene. One of the most emotionally impactful scenes they've done, in my opinion. But But how do you turn around from that, get your hands on the Darkhold, and then not even mention him except a throwaway line at the beginning saying that he had a theory about the multiverse?
So the 10 rings would tempt them with the thing that they coveted and wanted the most, right? So
Yes.
so Wenwu was just chasing the thing he wanted the most. Who says the Darkhold doesn't work in the same way? That's kind of how I took it.
Was it
like,
the rings,
it corrupts you,
or was it the soul-eating monster that wanted
Both?
the person who was using the rings to break him out because he knew the rings were strong enough to break him out?
I would have to go with both on that. Which powered
It's a little
by a
both.
demon, right? Why not both?
So you're saying that the Darkhold would essentially have the same effect, right?
In a way, because it says it corrupts you, right? And
Right.
If we look at it from a Star Wars perspective and talk about the dark side is meant to grip you, drag you down to hell, and turn you into one of them. Wanda is very much not really alive in this movie. And she even says it. You know, this is me being reasonable. And the next time I show up, I won't be Wanda. It'll be the Scarlet Witch. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then the movie happens, and I go, Jesus H Almighty, that is intense. You're right. You were being very reasonable. What a great line for a movie. And so when it comes down to her motivations, she is hell-bent, quite literally, on getting at least her kids back. Her kids. Right. That's all she wants. I'm assuming she can find a vision. If she wanted, she could make a damn vision. But she wants those kids because she dreams of them every night. And let's be honest, that sounds painful.
I think that for me, and sorry, JR, sorry to cut you off, but
no, go for it.
As you know, I'm the Wanda guy, so I've developed an insecurity saying nice things about Wanda because I think people look at it as invalid because of course. But my really only major criticism with Wanda specifically, other than just kind of a lack of emotional impact there at the end, but that's not really her character's fault. That's more of a pacing thing, as we talked about. When the idea of her only going after her kids, I buy because I think she maybe did get closure with Vision at the end of WandaVision. But it's that scene where she brings up a bunch of different multiverses at once and shows like a montage of all the situations where it's her and her kids. How is Vision not a part of any of those?
Exactly.
How is Vision not just in one of those bubbles? It just kind of, it makes you ask the question, where's Vision? And that's not what you're supposed to be asking at that point. I think that the transition from the post-credit scene of WandaVision to here is equally shocking and fitting. Yes, it's quick, but the fact that it's quick really emphasizes how powerful the Darkhold is, and turns out that's what the movie's about, is how powerful the Darkhold is. So I think that's a great decision they made. I love the idea of Wanda being so unhinged in this because it starts off more tame than it ends. You know what I mean? Like Thomas just said, it starts off with her doing some messed up stuff, but you know, by the end of it, she's doing more and more, and it keeps progressing. They don't hold back at any point until that final moment where America basically puts a mirror up to her face, which is a trope I will always fall for. I love the mirror in the face situation. But I think that up until that point, they just kept progressing, and I love when they're not afraid to make the female character the bad guy. Oh my gosh, Dany Targaryen, guys. This is what this is. This is the MCU's Dany T. And I think that's a really inspired choice they made. I do just want to shout out Elizabeth Olsen being able to just go off on being evil. Guys, her mouth did not stop moving this entire movie. It twitched, and she had a weird, subtle, sexy yet scary grin the entire movie. Stop smiling at me, murderer.
Even the tone of voice. Like when she was corrupted by the Darkhold, she talked more like Agatha than she did like Wanda. She lost her accent pretty much entirely throughout the movie until we came back to her in that closing scene where she ends up dropping the throne on herself. And then you hear that Sokovian accent start to come through again. So like, it was pretty cool to see how intricately done that corruption was, even on the level of just her speaking. Cause like the accent thing has been a hot topic of conversation for years now, you know, and now they're using it like to their advantage as like a plot device. So it's cool how they've turned that around.
It's a real Stephen Grant.
It's really important here that I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit, but I just love that with the way they handled Wanda, it was so. What do we love most about MCU villains? When their motivations are clear, when the acting performances are off the charts, and it's someone that we're kind of rooting for. That's what WandaVision is. That's why this is such a great WandaVision sequel. You know, sets up an elite level villain in the MCU. And I'm talking elite because not only do we care about what she's doing, not only do we sympathize with what she's doing, Doctor Strange sympathizes with what she's doing. You have every right to be angry, Wanda, all these different things. And then she does things like when she, her whole thing has been to get behind someone's ear and then like whisper a dream. And throughout the MCU, it's always been like that witch glitch kind of thing where she kind of like, glitches up to somebody's ear. This time she floats right behind that and just says, run.
Yeah.
And like the vibe they put behind her being evil was so committed. Add on all the sympathy we have for her, that's an elite tier villain. And I don't feel biased saying that because she crushed everything they did here. And what they did, at least for me, totally warranted. There's a line in WandaVision where she looks at Monica and says, I don't understand these powers, but I will. Put that in context with what she ends up doing. She's not being nice there, guys. She's going to go study the Darkhold and get evil. And she does. Right. And I like that.
Yes. Yes. And they were tricky with the marketing for this movie, too, because with that line in WandaVision, they left it open to interpretation, at least until we get to this movie, where you could interpret that as a hero's line saying, I'm going to go fix myself, then I'll come back and we'll make this right again. No, it was the other thing. It was, I'm going to figure out how to do this the right way. And clearly I shouldn't be doing it in a small town in New Jersey, but I'm going to figure this out. And when I do, I'm going to get what I want. And that's exactly what we saw her try to do. And it was amplified to the 11th degree. And it you're right. For in my opinion, this movie falls right in like the middle of like where I rank these movies, and in terms of my own personal enjoyment, this falls bottom middle tier-ish, kind of like, somewhere around there. But it produced one of my favorite villains. I can't. There's only a handful of MCU villains that had performances better than this one, and I mean she's in great company with like Thanos and Killmonger and Hela. Like yes. Thomas, you had something to say about Hela. What are we getting at here?
So I agree. It's a very, very beautiful. That was so beautiful, Brother Hela. I love it. It's WandaVision, or this is a great sequel to WandaVision. You said you don't think it's a great Doctor Strange sequel. When I go back and watch Doctor Strange, sure, it's got to me, it's like the exact same. He's got no emotional development in that movie whatsoever. He's the guy with the scalpel. I'm doing a job. It is what it is. I have no feelings, whatever. This movie, and really, that's him through the whole thing. I will not hesitate to let either of you die. Good. Moral compass.
Great line.
Square deal. Here, well, really at the end of No Way Home is when we see it. He starts to crack. And that's a Benedict Cumberbatch thing, right? He's like, I decided to add that in. And here he's fully cracked. Like he's like, I can't do this to this kid. I can't let this kid get hurt. He may not remember Peter Parker, but he somewhere on some emotional level completely cares about this character of Spider-Man and America Chavez. He gives away the scalpel.
Around, kid.
Yes. Yeah. He hands her the scalpel, right? He grows a little bit. That's the key word. I don't ever see him growing very much outside of power. His character's not growing. He finally is willing to admit he's not happy, which I mean that made me cry actually. That's I love a good existential "Are you happy?" in a movie that gets carried out the whole movie. But as the movie ends, here we get all this. America Chavez wins, and Wanda breaks good again, and decides to destroy the Mount of Wundagore, which is great. It starts coming down, and not everything is fully entirely destroyed. It's not put into small rubble, right? It's got chunks, and as it's falling, there's a big burst of red energy in a ball. When I first saw it, I was like, did they really just kill Wanda? Like, there was that red burst of energy. I don't think Wanda's dead at all. Why would Wanda kill herself at this point? That doesn't seem right. Why would her chaos magic allow that to happen? That just doesn't seem right. Sure, she may not be wielding the Darkhold, but her arc is I become a villain and then die. That doesn't feel right. Why would that happen? I get a feeling that perhaps Wanda is... Oh, shoot. Well, they can't do that because when she destroys Wonder Gore, all the Darkholds across all the universes are dead.
So cool.
Very cool.
Makes me question Wonder Gore. Is it only on 616?
Well, Wanda is supposedly... I think Wanda... Like, this comes back to how you were asking, does that universe's Wanda have powers? I think the Scarlet Witch itself might be a Nexus being. It's not Wanda, but the Scarlet Witch as an idea can only exist in that one place. That's probably why Wanda in 838 was not problematic, because she didn't have that Scarlet Witch in her, you know?
Yes, I was thinking that as well. So we've got Scarlet Witch, which
you saw the Book of Ashanti had the star, and that's America, and America only showed up once.
How many books are there?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right. It's gone immediately.
Well, no, I meant the other ones. The Book of Cagliostro. Is that some kind of ethereal, powerful thing?
Book of Boba Fett, of course.
That is, hey,
Boba Fett.
Yes, I still need that part to be released. Do you guys think Wanda's gone?
Matt, I'll let you start because we all know that this is probably the hardest conversation for you to have.
I read a theory, and I'm all the way in.
Oh, no!
Does it tie in with my theory? Let's see.
Who's read Secret Wars? Anybody?
Well, 84 or 15?
The 84 one.
Okay,
I haven't read the 15 one yet. I'm very excited to do so. I'm going to start reading Miss Marvel this week, guys.
Nice. Good timing.
Pretty excited.
Today?
Secret Wars, the cosmic Marvel being X that's in charge of everything. Do you remember the name of that character? Great Beyonder? No? Is that right?
Beyonder.
Sounds right.
The Beyonder?
The Beyonder.
Right. I think that Wanda could end up playing a Beyonder role in the eventual Secret Wars movie where they just, and this is straight from MT from New Rockstars. I'm ripping this off. But what if it's a Secret Wars House of M situation where Wanda brings everyone into this alternate universe, but that alternate universe battleground, it's Secret Wars, and it's a whole thing. Wanda has a reason to be upset with everybody she's met. She also has a reason to be upset with any Fantastic Four we might meet, any X-Men we might meet, any Inhumans we might meet. They've given Wanda a reason to bring everybody in. I think Wanda ascending existence is a possible opportunity here. And it's a crackpot theory, but I think it'd be dope.
So you think that rather than her perishing in 616, she's going to transcend the confines of that one universe and exist outside of that, and kind of like the same plane that like someone like the Watcher would? The
Watcher, He Who Remains, Wanda Maximoff.
Wow. Okay. Dang, that would really boost her up on the power scale. But if they're going to keep using her, they're going to have to keep boosting her up. I
think they have to use her in a bigger way than they just did, and they just went all out. There's no bigger than what they just did, so I think they have to make her some sort of existential situation.
I agree. I think if they're going to bring her back for anything, it can't just be to almost tear apart Thanos and then get hit by a rock again. You know, it's got to be something that means something, especially after the story we just watched. So, Thomas, I personally think Wanda's dead. But this theory that Matt has totally, I guess, opened my mind to the possibility of her returning in a much more cosmic kind of multiversal role. What are you thinking, do we want Wanda to come back? Are you happy that she's gone? Or we won't see as much horror anymore. Is that good? Is that bad? Is that...
I don't want to spoil anything for Secret Wars 2015.
Thank you. Wow.
It's really nice of you.
So
I
nice.
love the idea of Wanda being the one to create this Secret Wars. That knowing that you haven't read it makes me change how I have to word everything that I'm about to do.
Just go for it. I'll forget it.
Okay, thank you. Because it ties into Doom.
Right.
2015, it's all Doom. It was Doom all along, essentially, in the Secret Wars there.
Latveria.
Yeah, Wandagore Latveria. You see where I'm going here. The Darkhold the Darkhold in Wundagore, there's a couple panels that are eternal circles, like very specifically placed with eternal symbology that I recognize. I was like, oh, that looks like eternal circles. 3 with a couple small ones in the center, opposite of the other magical things we see, such as the dream walking pages. So all a certain thing needs to do is a couple bricks, a couple of spells can fall wherever it's going to fall. And one Victor Von Doom finds it and starts doing powers and starts utilizing it, and then finds a protected Scarlet Witch, Wanda, who's now separated mentally from the Scarlet Witch and the Darkhold. If I'm not mistaken, there is a brainwashing plot in the comics between Doom. Well, I mean, probably Sue Storm knowing Doom, but a couple other ladies at times. I could see that kind of being a thing, utilizing Wanda and using her knowledge to boost his powers, which could then lead to how she comes back, why she's even more pissed, because now she's even more tragic, right? She had to give up her kids, and then now she's turned into a slave by Doom and the powers that she gave up. Then she slays everybody. But I think that's a tie into Doom more than anything. Like, that's where Wanda's story at the end of this movie and the power she's using, I think that's where it leads. I think it leads to Doom. Whereas what Doctor Strange says to Senior Krasinski with, didn't you guys have a jaunt in the 60s? Weren't you guys running around in the 60s?
Chart in the 60s?
Yeah, chart in the 60s. Thank you. That seems like a beautiful way to find our Fantastic Four outside of time itself. Are they going to show up in Quantum Mania because they were fighting Kang and trapped a version of Kang in the quantum realm?
Oh wow,
that's right. That's where my
imagine them all debuting in like a brief thing, but like it's Zac Efron out of nowhere.
I think we'll probably see their powers come from the quantum realm, if we're being honest. Like, in my opinion, just because of like what we saw with Janet Van Dyne, Hope's mom, how she came back from the quantum realm and now she's got all these crazy powers and stuff.
These crazy powers.
She's a zombie one time.
She gained a lot from being there. If we find them trapped there, I bet that will have to do with their actual superhero origin story.
Yeah,
is they may have been trekking through there to fight someone like Kang, or at least investigate something that might have shown remnants or evidence of him, and then they get trapped there. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And how the Quantum Mania logo is also very blue, very much like the Fantastic Four symbol. And we know that they like to
change the Multiverse of Madness logo like 4 months before it released.
They changed it like 4 times, I feel like. It kept changing.
We'll see what happens, but right now, that's my tie. That's my tie.
I like it. I like that a lot. We saw
it's Cillian Murphy, I'm sure, in your head, which is great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Love that. I think we saw in WandaVision that Wanda's power can power something like Vision, because they were trying to figure out how to reboot him, and they're like, oh, we just needed some power from the source. What if that was a little seed they planted for maybe her power being exploited for something more grand? That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I've always thought that a snap, an infinity snap, or Wanda's bubble bursting was going to be the surge of energy that unlocks mutants or something like that. So I'm looking for a tie where
the mutants from Westview.
it looks like the Mind Stone ignited something that otherwise would have died on the vine. One of my favorite lines from WandaVision: "Dying on the vine. That's DNA. That's genetics. That's mutants." And I just hope they utilize that somehow. I think we hear about Wanda well before we see Wanda again.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, we'll probably hear about her for a while now, especially with everything they left open with WandaVision. But yeah, Thomas, we got to talk about overall thoughts of this movie.
Yes.
Did we like how they wrapped it up? Do we like where things are now? I personally went into this movie thinking the multiverse would be in shambles by the end of this film. Turns out it was very small scale, and multiverse is still intact, and might actually be better off now than it was before, because the Darkhold's not a thing now. Which is crazy to think about, that across every universe, the Darkhold is no longer a concern.
So many Stranges went bad because the Darkhold exists.
Yeah, and we just eliminated that. And that brings in a question of, well, how does time work across the multiverse? Because are there universes now where the 838 Strange isn't dead anymore because he never had to use the Darkhold because it wasn't available to him? So like there's like so many different implications. Now that I'm saying it out loud, this might have actually created more problems for the multiverse than it solved. Thomas, you have a look in your eye.
I was thinking the same thing. Was the destruction of the Darkhold like the beginning of multiple incursions?
Oh, wow, because it's all about balance.
It's all about balance. And to be fair, though, the Book of Ashanti's also gone, but it wasn't being touched in or copied or utilized in anything or in the in these other universes that we know of. It was just hidden in the gap between realities.
Good point. Great point.
But anyway, so overall, let's talk about how satisfied are we with where the MCU stands following this film, and where does this film land for you in your MCU rankings? So I'll start, and then Matt, we'll swing it to you. We'll end on Thomas. For me, this movie really put the MCU in a state where we can ask a lot of new questions. We have series like Loki and What If and WandaVision that we thought were going to set up questions that we would have answered in this movie, but in reality, that didn't happen. This movie, if anything, just gave us new context to formulate those questions better, if that makes sense. So the MCU, I don't feel like the state of it was really improved or worsened other than the Darkhold being eliminated and Wanda being gone. We did lose a whole Illuminati group in one universe, so I'll consider that a loss. But overall, the MCU is in a more or less the same state. They still have their Sorcerer Supreme. They've still got everything going for them. In terms of rankings, I have it on my list here. I never really do the rankings, but I updated it for this one. This one is one that fell like right in the middle for me. My official number on it is 18 out of the 28 MCU films. So right in the middle bottom tier, not the last 10 on the list, but close enough to it. And that's really just because of my enjoyment level. I enjoyed it a lot, but there are a ton of MCU flicks that are much more cohesive and work a lot better narrative wise for me. So this one's kind of sitting in like the middle ground a little bit. Matt, I am very interested to hear where you rank this movie, considering it killed off your favorite character.
Sure. No, and I like a good death, especially when they turn villain beforehand. Like, I've said it before, I'm looking for my Dany Targaryen of the MCU. I think we found it here in a very big way. I love what they did with Wanda. No quorums with Wanda, really, other than simply not having Vision in one of those bubbles. Like, that's it. It's overall thoughts for me with this movie is really interesting. Like I said, everything I love about this movie is conflicted with something I hate. I've talked about a lot of stuff I love so far. I think it's a tough Doctor Strange sequel because there's a vibe to Doctor Strange. There's just kind of a tone to that movie that I don't think's carried over here at all. This is much more heavy metal than it is that synth Doctor Strange theme we get in 2016's movie. There's just a cohesiveness, a groundedness of magic in that first movie that I don't think is here. Not that that's bad, it's just different, which I think is a mistake they made not to bring some of those vibes over. I think that there's so much setup in Loki that they didn't use here. The sacred timeline, once being this systematic, filtered thing, now being this frantic, chaotic, unfiltered thing. Like, it's like if you look through videos on a website and you filter out, I only want cat videos that include bouncy balls. And that's the sacred timeline. And then you take those two filters off. Now you have all of the internet at your disposal. They didn't utilize that at all. One line, and maybe more than one line, but like one line where Reed or somebody is like, the multiverse is much different than it used to be. Something like that. Utilizing everything Loki did. I think they could have done something. They did nothing. I think it's a big miss for me. And then it's just the emotional impact of those last couple scenes. I don't feel specifically with Doctor Strange getting the third eye. It seems like a really upsetting moment. And then the very next scene, he's like, hell yeah, third eye. Let's go. So it's really tough for me to rank. So guys, what I've done is I just took out the series from my rankings here. So 28 movies. Top half is 14. I want to keep that in mind for everybody listening. To be a top half movie in the MCU, you need to be better than 14 movies in the MCU. That's crazy. Like, that's an insane bar the MCU has set. So what I've done is I've put this in a tier with 3 other movies. I want you guys to help me figure out where I rank it within these 4. Okay. You guys cool to help me do that real quick?
Let's do it.
Why not?
So it's my 4th tier in the MCU. The last movie in the tier before this, tier 3, Doctor Strange. So I have Doctor Strange at 16. I have Doctor Strange at 16, right? So 17 through 20, Captain America First Avenger, Ant-Man, Iron Man 3, Multiverse of Madness. Where does Multiverse of Madness rank compared to Iron Man 3, Ant-Man, and First Avenger? JR, I know you're a big Iron Man 3 guy. Thomas, I don't know where you fall in these movies. I assume you like Ant-Man because I assume you like Paul Rudd, knowing you as the person I know you as. So what do you guys think? Like, you guys know me. Where do you think I should put this movie within those 4?
Wow, that's tough.
I can't decide because there are so many problems with it, but there are also so many things I love. I just think about how many movies don't have any problems.
I think it's got to go below the First Avenger.
Yep.
Because I know that you and I share a very we have a soft spot for that movie.
It's a good one.
And rightfully so. It's a very well-made movie. It's a little dated in certain spots, but it holds up extremely well, especially for being a period piece.
I was just about to say, it's a period piece, and I like that about it. Just like this is a horror movie, and I like that about it.
Right. I would say that knowing you, I think you would have the First Avenger above it.
I agree.
But I can see where you're torn because this does include an amazing story from Wanda. But yeah, I think First Avenger has to go above it. Thomas, what do you think about Ant-Man sitting there? I think
Ant-Man's where I'm deciding. I'm keeping Iron Man 3 at the bottom of this tier. I think
I can understand.
I hate the villain.
Yeah.
In Iron Man
we don't
3.
have to. We don't have to go into it. Yeah. I get it. It's fine.
I think
my immediate thought.
A movie, and so between Ant-Man and Multiverse of Madness, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay, I think that's a fair spot. Thomas, I could see Matt juggling between these 2 movies because I think I have Ant-Man right around that spot on my list too. It's sitting at 17, and I have Multiverse of Madness at 18. So I'm right there with you. Thomas, what about you?
When you listed these out, my immediate thought was above Iron Man 3, below the other 2. But that's for me.
Yeah.
With Wanda, because I know how much you love Evangeline Lilly, right? But she's not Wanda, right? She's not Wanda. So I think that you got to go with your heart, man, and put your heart above. I have crazy rankings because my heart is strong. But I love Ant-Man. I think Ant-Man's a better movie. I think Multiverse of Madness is a better experience.
I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. And I'm going to lock it in at number 18, right below First Avenger and above Ant-Man, based solely on the fact that I thought I would hate the Illuminati stuff. It ended up being my favorite part of the movie. That's an accomplishment.
Wow. Okay.
I got to give Sam Raimi props where props are due.
That's
number
great.
18 on my 28 movie list, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Wow, look at that. Matt and I agree on something.
Unbelievable.
Love it. Exact same spot on the list.
Are you serious? Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. I think that's also David's.
No kidding.
Yeah, it is.
He has it at 18 as well. Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay, cool. So Matt and I are pretty much in agreement. Thomas, how do you feel about the MCU after this movie, and where do you put this movie on your rankings of the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Where the MCU is left. What a great question. We get the eye thing, right? And you think if that had ended it and we get a totally different mid-credit scene than we got, I think I'm left with a lot more creative questions. Like, ooh, could it lead to this? Could it lead to that? But instead, it's over, and he's like, I'm just taking a stroll down with my awesome cloak scarf. You know,
so sick how the cloak is always a piece of clothing. So dope.
The pocket square in the suit.
Get out of here, man.
Big cool. Pop. I love a good pocket square, and the fact it was the damn cloak. So jealous of that. But I really think that it's set up to do some really beautiful stuff, except I also think that mid-credit scene is the Mysterio revealing Peter Parker's identity. I don't know if we will see Doctor Strange again before his next movie, but if we do, I could easily see it being set after whatever story that is, because non-linear storytelling is a thing. We don't know how time across multiverses work. Sure. Having said that, this is the second sequel that we've seen after Endgame. They've talked about there being a theme going across, these next phases. Perhaps it's the sequel film is a contained story that at the very end immediately explodes into the next story, which is huge. Doctor Strange, the first one, teaches us about the multiverse. This, we get to explore the multiverse a little bit. The future, I think, is just the last thing we get before Secret Wars type of multiversal travel. I think it's great. Again, I had it ranked as a 3. I'd probably call it, because of the discourse, a 7.5.
Love that.
I have no idea where it fits in my rankings. Let me go live here. Number 18 is Age of Ultron. Number 17 is Civil War. Number 16 is Avengers. Number 19 is Black Widow.
What are you reading to us right now?
Sorry. I do have my shows in here. So I got 31 total projects.
There's only 6 MCU shows, bro. That doesn't explain why Civil War isn't even top 14.
I
have
a lot of MCU shows up high.
We're gonna have to have another.
I have a lot of
just
MCU
going
shows
over
up
Thomas's rankings, because this is absurd. I wasn't ready for this bombshell. We're already almost 3 hours into this episode. I don't think we have time for this.
I have 3 shows before it, so Civil War would be 14.
Oh my!
In the movies, I know. Hey, listen, personal preferences. We're all weird here.
Where's Guardians? I need to know. I need to know where Guardians is at.
I might have to drop it at 9. I guess technically it'd be 14, 15, 16. I might have to go 16 as an experience. As an experience alone, it goes to my 16. In just the movies. So out of the 28 movies, it goes to 16. Because I don't think Doctor Strange is a worse movie. But I think it's not as fun of an experience as Multiverse of Madness. If we went just head, this ranking would be insane. These would be so much more in line with everybody else. But my heart is strong.
Wow.
And we chase it.
We're definitely going to have to cut time out next week to go over your top 10, because you just listed like most of our top 10, and it's not in any of yours.
Really did.
Wait, I can do this right now if you want.
What? Yeah, I know,
it's
Matt.
All movies.
Matt, we've kept you longer.
No,
way longer than we
listen to it. I'll listen to it.
Yeah, he'll listen to it. Yeah, they're all there. They're all there. I just have some surprises.
Let's
Matt,
hear it.
Where can everyone find you on social media?
Oh, we're not doing it. Okay. You can find me.
He said he'll listen to it. We gotta let him go. We're pushing 3 hours.
No. I mean, I'll listen to it right here, right now.
Yeah,
okay. In that case, number 10, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Love that movie.
Wow.
What an experience. More Evangeline Lilly, About Damn Time. Number 9, Guardians.
Cheese and a juice box?
Yeah. Hey, we got string cheese and a juice box if you count Black Bolt's head.
You really have those things?
All right. Number 9. Let's hear it.
Number 9, Guardians of the Galaxy. Number 1.
Okay.
Number 8, Shang-Chi.
Okay.
I'm very high on Shang-Chi.
Love that.
Number
That's in my top
7,
10.
Black Panther.
Respect.
Okay.
8, Homecoming.
Double respect.
5, Winter Soldier.
Great film.
4, Endgame. It's a great film, but it's beaten by Ragnarok at 3, Infinity War at 2, and No Way Home at 1.
Okay, that's
you have more good
strong.
movies in there than I thought you would.
Yeah, same. Ant-Man and the Wasp being at number 10 had me going like, what are we getting into right here?
Exactly.
But that ended up being okay. That was
thought you had it to the first half.
Okay, yeah, that's really not that far off.
Civil War at 14 though, Jesus.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
I don't like
Captain
watching my
America
family
trilogy, huh?
fight.
Where's Winter Soldier?
7, 5.
Oh, you said
5.
Winter Soldier? Oh,
Winter Soldier's at 5, yeah.
My bad. But so right after Endgame. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
So yeah, our top 10 not that different. But
Not that
anyway,
different.
The rest of it, yeah.
Multiverse of Madness kind of falls in the middle for all of us. It seems like
Classic mid-tier.
middle bottom-ish era.
It's
But
mid.
what a ride. Am I right,
Yeah.
guys? That movie was incredible. It introduced so many unique Marvel elements that we hadn't seen in the MCU before, and really brought a lot to the table that just provides bigger implications going forward. Matt, thank you so much for coming on here and spending the better part of 2 hours with us talking about the latest Marvel movie. Man, it feels like you do a little bit of everything now. So let's let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, man. You can find me over on Twitter mostly. I'm tweeting way too much about comic book movies over at Matt Roembke, ROEMB as in boy, KE. You can also find me over on the direct.com. I'm writing as much as I can. Our website-wide rankings article is coming out later this week. I'm officially right here, right now, inviting Thomas Carter Rochester to vote on said article if he would like, as an honorary member of the direct.com. And you better keep that Ant-Man and the Wasp top 10 out of my fucking rankings.
I'm here to shake things up again.
Yeah, I can tell. But no, at Matt Roembke over on the direct.com. And obviously, for those who don't know, anywhere you can find podcasts, make sure to check out the Direct Podcast. It's our website's official podcast where you can find everything you need to know about the universes you love. We'll be having our rankings episode this week. Always a good time with me and Liam over there on the direct.com podcast.
Sweet. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much for having me on, man. It was such a blast.
Of course.
Well, thank you
Absolutely,
for this
brother.
beautiful new logo that we've got moving forward.
Of course.
We're going to be pasting that everywhere. So, yeah, it's really nice to have your personal touch on it because of how close you are to this show. So, yeah, man, we can't thank you enough. It's truly exactly what we wanted for this.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it. I love what you guys are doing. And I am willing to come back and chat anytime you guys need me to. I'm here for you.
Awesome.
Thank you,
We'd
brother.
love to have you.
Appreciate it.
Of course, guys. We'll see you.
All
All right, man. Take
We'll
care.
let you
Thanks
go.
again.
Bye.
See you. All right. And with that, we have gone through a full spoiler discussion of not one, but 2 major Marvel events with the Moon Knight finale and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Thomas, how are we feeling? That was a long one.
What a week of Marvel, am I right, dude?
It's
Like
been quite some time, yeah.
And the crazy part is Doctor Strange has made some money. Like it's made some money. We didn't dive into it. We'll probably dive in next week after 2 weeks, because I'm very intrigued to see what word of mouth does for weekend 2, what that drop percentage is.
Yes. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting seeing how this movie performs in the long run, because it had the talk up of a major Marvel event, but now that we're here, it's not getting reviews of this is the biggest thing ever. It's a little bit more of a mixed bag. So, yeah, the second weekend for this film will be a big one, because I know a lot of people will be walking out of that not particularly interested in rushing to the theater to watch it a second, third, or fourth time like we did with Spider-Man No Way Home. So it'll be a very, very different look at Marvel's first summer blockbuster of the year. Real quick, before we close everything out, Gary Ball, who's been with us all night long, says, thank you. I really enjoyed this podcast. I just want to say thank you. It opened up my mind to a lot of things. Gary, we absolutely love that. That's your takeaway. That's exactly why we're here and why we have the brilliant minds like Tom Drew and Matt Roembke on the show, is so we can open up your minds to all the wonderful possibilities of everything beautiful, in this case, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So thank you so much for
very much
riding along with us for
really
some time
quick,
tonight.
he was here 30 minutes before we went live. There's comments. He's like, I'm here just to watch this. Shout out Gary. He's been here for over 3 hours hanging with us.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, here's a comment from 6:30 this evening saying, I just want to let you know, thank you. I'll be here. And you were here, man. we love
the whole
it. So,
time.
Absolutely. Tell your friends, leave us a review, and be sure to come back and join us next week as well.
Absolutely. JRB, let's close this out. Where can everyone find you on social media, you big sexy son of a blue?
You can find me on Twitter at JRB_direct. That's where all my social presence is, really, at least in a public form. So yeah, I'll share all the articles I end up writing up over there, all my thoughts on everything Marvel, DC, greater movie industry, all that good stuff. What about you, Thomas? Where can everybody find you?
You can find all of my links at Linktr.com/TCRochesterACT. These days, I'm most active on the Twitter sphere. That's where we talking all the Star Wars, all the Thor, all of the things, man, all the good stuff that we love here. Sometimes I crack a joke. Sometimes it's funny. Usually it's a dad joke. But you can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook, where you're going to see a little bit more behind the scenes of what I do as an actor. If you're into that, you can get those links at TCRochesterACT on Linktree.com. Promotions really quick. We are 10 days away from the start of MegaCon 2022. JRB. So right now, the only panel that I know of that HWWS has officially fully scheduled and timed out is the Thunder Buddies panel, Saturday, May 21st at noon on the main stage of the vendor floor of MegaCon. I'll be there. It sounds like David might be there. He says, busy weekend. I got this going on. It sounds like he might be there. If not, I will wing it like always. Let's hope my Ravager Thor outfit, my vest shows up before then so I can at least look good the whole time. I'm very excited for MegaCon to meet anybody out there who wants to come up, say hi at the HWWS WebTV booth. A lot of our friends are going to be there as well, and it's going to be a crazy, hectic weekend. Check out the Harry Potter sorting hat ceremonies. I'm not a Potter fan, but I'm a fan of watching people be a part of something that they absolutely love, and there's nothing better than being at the panel and watching kids be sorted in their house, man. So come out to MegaCon 2022, a big supporter of LightsThunderAction and the HWWS WebTV. JRB, you got anything to recommend for the audience?
I'm gonna recommend seeing Multiverse of Madness if you haven't already. I'm assuming if you've sat through this with us, you've probably seen it because we just spoiled quite literally everything about it. But I will say that the second time I went to see Multiverse of Madness, I learned to appreciate a lot of scenes much more than I did the first time around. Specifically, the fight that we didn't even talk about between Doctor Strange and Sinister Strange with the music.
Oh, yeah. The music fight.
The first time I saw that, I was like, oh, this is pretty cheesy, pretty low level. And then the second time I went around, I went, oh my gosh, this Sinister Strange has killed dozens of Doctor Stranges in the multiverse. Doctor Strange needs to think of a way to fight this guy that he has never seen before. And how do you do that? And he chose the music pages floating down. And he grabbed the very notes from those pages and started pelting Sinister Strange with it. And you could tell he wasn't ready for that. He just started getting hit. I didn't realize how wicked smart that was until my second viewing. So if you have not seen this movie at least a second time, go back and rewatch it. Now that you are through the madness and it's not going to be this constant ride of what's happening next, you know what's coming. Sit down and analyze it a little more. There are layers to this movie that I think are worth paying attention to.
Cannot agree more. I saw it Thursday, and I told a lot of people, and a lot of people messaged me back and went, oh no. Because normally I love everything the first time. And the more I think about something when I don't like it, the better it gets. It got a lot worse until I saw it. Like, I didn't really like the movie. I was taken out by the Illuminati massacre. I cared not about Carmitage massacre, which should tell you, I guess, something about me. That's sad. I don't know how balanced as all things should be, I guess. But the Illuminati massacre really just gutted me, and it made me hate everything that happened after because I was just so confused and traumatized that I'm here rooting for Wanda. Like, no, Wanda, don't blow up Carmitage. No, Wanda, don't do that. And then she like zaps that guy out of existence, and I go, oh, she's like, this is oh, she's okay. So she's like, is she gonna kill anybody else? Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was unnerving. The second time, knowing what I'm getting, I appreciated the horror elements. I appreciated the story, the pacing a lot better. I felt the emotional beats, which I felt with Wanda the first time, were so much better the second time. The emotional beats that I felt with Doctor Strange lined up a lot easier throughout the movie for me. And yeah, normally I'm always a fan of saying, go see a movie a second time. This is one of those movies where the pacing is so damn fast and crazy and hitting you with so many different things that, yeah, on the second viewing, it's a lot slower of a 2-hour movie, but only because you know half the information already.
Right.
And you're not having to like, So
Yeah,
go
it's
see
wicked quick.
Multiverse of Madness. It's so quick. Go see Multiverse of Madness. Read a comic, be nice to yourself. That's my recommendation for the week. You know, it's supposed to be a long life. Right. That's the goal. So be kind to yourself as you would be to others, and vice versa. Ladies, gentlemen, non-binary individuals, we've reached the end of the show. As always, there could be no show without the Iron Man variant to my left. World famous journalist John Ross Bradford, bringing a much needed eloquence and wit to this show. Thank you to Terry McIver and David Thompson for their work behind the scenes. The HWWS WebTV family for supporting us, carrying us on the network. And most importantly, thank you to you, our fans. And shout out Gary Ball, new fan. Hope to see you every week, pal. Whether you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube, or listening via Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, or Spotify, we appreciate you spending your time with us.
Absolutely, yes. And one more quick thank you to both Tom Drew and Matt Roembke for the amazing artwork they've given to us for this show. This really marks the true start of season 3 of LightsThunderAction, and having both their touches on it is really amplifying what we're trying to do. And we can't thank them enough for that. So
I didn't reveal the final combined logo.
Well, let's do
earlier. So really quick, here it is.
Tell you what, here it is with all its glory. We have Thomas up top and me below with the LTA logo in the corner.
Yes.
We'll obviously publish this on our socials and everything.
Of course.
Why don't you throw up the film reel with our the banner on it too while we're at it? Yes. Love it. Absolutely.
This is the one you'll see everywhere. And if you're listening to us right now on your Apple Podcast, Good Pod, Spotify, wherever it is, the one we are looking at right now with a clapper should be what you see as the weekly episode art. Very excited for this. The beautiful logos that really show what we're about to be doing here. We're going to be diving a lot more into the film aspect of it all, and just all sides of it. You know, we're big fans. We're always fans first. And I'm trying to bring some BTS knowledge here and maybe there. JRB, really quick, thank you for wearing that amazing shirt that I now might need to get Tom Drew to draw a variant for, because that shirt with those shoes, popping. My guy.
Love it. I wore it just for you, man. I'm glad you like it.
I love it, dude.
A little bit of summer flair to ring in the new season of LTA.
Yeah, you're feeling the heat tonight.
Yes, we are indeed. Yes. All right. With that said, wherever you're watching us or listening to our beautiful voices, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe while you're on that platform. Leave us a review, drop a comment so we can answer any questions you have, and give us 5 stars if, of course, you feel we are worthy.
Worthy. As always, I'm TCR.
And I'm JRB.
And thank you for joining episode 85 of LTA. We'll see you next time. Chicka-ka-chow.